South River Street in downtown Aurora, which now includes residences and businesses that have revitalized the area. No matter the project, KWCC Construction offers services from indoors to outdoors, conception to completion. In fact, KWCC was recognized as 2022's Best Project in Landscape and Urban Development. Highly recommended. A general contracting company you can count on. That's KWCC. To request a proposal for your project, visit kwccinc.com. That's kwccinc.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And so there was this big to-do over the weekend at the world's largest gay bar there on the north side.
And that being what?
I think you know what that is. Ryan Sandberg statue was unveiled over the weekend. Nice ceremony. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. If you want to share any fond memories of Rhino. Sandberg had this to say about the statue, what he wanted the statue to represent, and very pleased with how it turned out. Actually, pretty good job.
Well, some of the things I wanted with the statue was was on the balls of the feet, ready for every single pitch. That's another reflection on being for every pitch in the batter's box. And defense is very important for me. I thought it was for me it was bring your glove every single day. Might go into some hitting slumps, but as far as defense goes, as long as I did my pregame work and did that, I wanted to play defense every day for the pitcher, for everybody on the field. The statue reflects 80s, 90s baseball. For me, it's got the old vintage flip-down glasses, which are a must every single day game at Wrigley Field. You only flipped them down if the ball went up, and they were so dark that even if the ball was in the sun, you'd still catch it. But I think that's very cool. The gold patch on the gold glove signifies the gold gloves that were won. Of course, the vintage jersey, the pullover jersey, not the button down, and the elastic pants right on down to the stirrups. The uniform, the fans will recognize that as 80s style, and they might even call it retro.
Very detail-oriented.
Oh, my God. It's like he had it memorized, and had years and years to comment, to remember on it.
Okay, Rodan, very, very particular about his statue, but it is nice, and Sandberg, even as a Sox fan and somebody who despises the Cubs, which is redundant, it's just hard not to like Ryan Sandberg, and hard not to appreciate the way he played the game. I mean, if you love baseball, you have to at least respect Ryan Sandberg, as far as I'm concerned. It's difficult for me to say about it.
I know,
but
I'm
it's
shocked
true.
that we're talking about it. Although it did sound like we were in a gay bar with music in the background.
I thought it was cool too to see all the players that were on the walkway watching the ceremony unfold. All the guys that are on the team now, to show proper respect for your Hall of Fame elders, actually, because other Hall of Famers, Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins, were there as well. Sandberg, when he addressed the crowd, also talked about his recent travails, including battling cancer.
My life changed a lot in 1984, but that's nothing compared to what happened 6 months ago. So my thoughts today are instead about love, life, family, and friends. My teammates fall into all those categories, but until my cancer diagnosis, I guess I never fully understood that. The number of people in baseball that have reached out to me this year is astonishing. Some I haven't had in contact in 20 or 30 or 40 years. I feel that love now that was always there, but I was too busy grinding out extra 60 ground balls every morning to know that it was happening. We are what we are, and that was me. I love you guys.
And for those who don't know, he got diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer. But the report I have seen is that he's cancer-free at the moment.
Yeah, he did an update on his Instagram a few days ago saying that, he's in remission and it's road to recovery.
So that's encouraging. Of course, did you ever meet Ryan Sandberg?
I don't want to talk about it. No, he was a gentleman. The times that I had to interview him or meet him, he was fine. I mean, there's some sports players, professional athletes that are absolute D-bags.
Well, of course.
I mean, just think so highly of themselves that
Like
they
who
get,
are-
I guess I'll have to stop to give you an interview.
Like, who are you thinking about?
What's in it? Canseco?
Jose Canseco?
Oh, scared the bejesus out of me. I mean, he was like a rock. He's like, yeah, what do you want? And then I, interviewed him and walked away because he was scaring me to death.
Okay.
No, I liked Sammy Sosa, though, but he was so full of himself, and baseball had been very good to me. He kept saying the same thing over and over and over again.
It was very good to him.
It was very
It's true.
good to him.
But
Who's a better Cub player? Ryan Sandberg, Sammy Sosa. You can't really compare them because they don't play the same position.
Well,
but-
the other one cheated and one didn't. too.
Exactly.
There's
That's-
that.
Yeah, but no, he was always a gentleman.
Baseball have been very, very good to me. You were doing a mini Minoso and ascribing it to Sammy Sosa.
I love
so
Mickey
you're
Minoso.
clear.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So
No, but he was
now
good.
that
The first
you've
time I met him, I was in high school, though, and he was at TGA Fridays with Rick Sutcliffe and
who was?
Ryan Sandberg was with Rick Sutcliffe and another player. And my family were like, "Oh, let's go get their interview." And my To Kill a Mockingbird book that I was reading, and I went up to them. Maybe I was in middle school, but I went up to them, gave them the book. They signed it. They were great. It was. What are you laughing at? My reading choices.
You
or what
had
was assigned to me?
You said to Ryan Sandberg,
I don't have
"Could
any
you
paper.
si-
Can you
could
sign
you
my
sign
book?
To Kill a Mockingbird?"
Yeah, he did. He signed it. Well, because Mr. Bolito was my lit teacher, and
Sure, we all remember Mr. Bolito.
Mr. Bolito was if anybody went to Hersey and Mr. Bolito, you know what I'm talking about. He was a very energetic lit teacher, and he loves the Cubs. His whole room was Beatles and Chicago Cubs. And so I got it signed, and I said, I hope you don't mind. And he said, Amy, this is great. If I could, I'd give you extra credit points for getting us this. And
I mean,
why are you laughing?
Maybe if Harper Lee was at the TGI Fridays, that would have been appropriate.
it was right on Lake Street.
Maybe if Gregory Peck was on the. Okay.
Rick Sutcliffe. And then when it became a reporter, they had, old timers days, and people would come and we'd talk to him, and he was a really nice man. I mean, he seemed to be a family man. He loved the Cubs. He loved the fans. He really embraced the fans, which some people have problems doing, and he did not.
You know what's interesting is I mentioned this before when I played golf with Sandberg a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Because I have a friend who's very good friends with him, and so we played at Olympia, and he was a super nice guy, really nice.
Is he a
guy.
good golfer?
He's a pretty good stick.
Okay.
I beat him, but he's pretty good. Stick.
Oh, that's why you're telling
I did.
the story, because you beat him.
Well, I did.
By how many strokes?
There's a couple.
Mhm.
I think I was like 76 to 78 or something like
Okay.
that.
All right.
Anyway, the thing that I just remark upon, and I mentioned this to Steve Trout when at our golf outing last week.
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Steve Trout will be filling in for me next week,
That's
right? When I'm on
propo-
vacation
it's,
every day.
it's
He's got a crush on Steve Trout. Not a crush.
no. It's
He's
just,
one of your.
he's the funky left-hander. I remember going to see him play in pajamas in the early '80s in the White Sox with my dad. It was great. But and plus, us elite athletes, we hang out,
Oh,
we talk.
that's right.
Yeah. But how big Sandberg is. You think second baseman, you remember him being like this skinny guy. I mean, he is, first of all, he's 6'4", but he's just so, like, the skeletal structure.
Yeah.
He's just big. Like, these athletes, if you get up close to them, most of them they just have, like, a different skeletal structure than your mere mortals like us. So anyway, that was, but very good, and it was a wonderful day, and He's a good dude, and he was a great baseball player, and yeah, so it's nice.
And he's on the road to recovery.
And the White Sox or the Cubs should think about suiting him up again if he wants to play.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
That's some good stuff, I'll tell you. It really works.
I'm just really pleased with your product. I've been using it now for 3 years.
I've been taking it for a while now. I feel better. I live on the Balance of Nature. I plan on taking it forever.
I've been a very happy customer. I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
If credit card debt is stressing you out and keeping you up at night, you need to call Team Hochberg about a fresh start debt consolidation loan. Meet Mitch, 43, IT manager, score 653, making $74,000 a year living in a $300,000 home in Geneva. Mitch accumulated $45,000 of credit card debt when he lost his job. So he contacted Team Hochberg about a fresh start debt consolidation mortgage after securing a new job. Team Hochberg loan officer Johnny Hendrickson helped Mitch eliminate the credit card debt he accumulated while being unemployed and saved him over $1,200 a month. Let's review. Johnny helped Mitch pay off credit card debt totaling $45,000 and saved him over $14,000 a year. What are you waiting for? Team Hochberg helped Mitch and thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Handsy Andy Cuomo, trying to rehabilitate himself, breaks from himself on open border policy. We'll talk about that in the context of larger developments in and around immigration and the migrant matter. 538.
And President Biden's not coming out until the debate. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
531, Russia's southern region of Dagestan is holding the first of 3 days of mourning following a rampage by Islamic militants. The terrorists killed 19, most of them police, as the terrorists attack houses of worship. The governor of Dagestan says all 5 gunmen were killed. Officials in South Korea say a fire at a lithium battery manufacturing plant near the South Korean capital of Seoul has left 16 dead, 7 injured, and 6 missing. Hundreds of temperature records are breaking as extreme heat grips small sections of the world map. The heat has led to a tragedy as more than 1,000 Muslim pilgrims have died making the Hajj journey to Mecca. 4 died as a result of Friday's mass shooting at a small-town grocery store in Arkansas. Colonel Mike Hager on Sunday.
The actions of the suspect were the most cowardly, pathetic actions imaginable, as he was literally preying on defenseless victims, the majority of which were female.
9 others were wounded in that incident. The suspect is in custody. President Biden and former President Donald Trump are preparing for their first debate set this week in Atlanta. Texas Congressman Dr. Ronnie Jackson says he's written a letter to the White House demanding the president be tested for performance-enhancing drugs.
We've seen recently in his State of the Union address that there was a Joe Biden that came out that was not similar at all to what we see on a day-to-day basis for the last 3.5 years.
Trump, meantime, held a rally in Philadelphia. Federal prosecutors are recommending criminal charges against Boeing for violating, they say, a 2021 settlement related to 2 crashes. A new study strongly links the use of marijuana to an increased risk of more serious COVID outcomes. It's new research from Washington University's School of Medicine in St. Louis. The risks are very similar to what could be expected to be seen in tobacco users and include ICU admissions. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere died overnight, his family announced. Deere represented the county's 2nd district. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox was allegedly assaulted over the weekend. William Sweats of Flossmoor is charged with 2 felonies and is back in court on Tuesday. A person of interest is in custody following the deadly shooting of a retired Chicago police officer last week in West Garfield Park. Larry Newman was shot and killed Thursday, working in his yard. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling.
You cannot call yourself a man because you tote a gun. You cannot call yourself a man because you robbed someone. That doesn't make you a great human being. What it makes you is a criminal. It makes you an armed robber. You shoot someone, it makes you a murderer.
Multiple reports say a 16-year-old boy turned himself in. Police confirm over the weekend at least 36 were shot, 8 fatally across the city. We'll also watch today as former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced. Federal jury found Burke guilty last December of racketeering, bribery, and extortion. Stanley Cup Finals tonight, Panthers and Oilers in Game 7. College World Series down to one last game. Tennessee with a win in Game 3, 4-1. That was in Sunday's Game 2. Game 3 is tonight. Cubs lost to the Mets. White Sox lost to the Tigers. Scotty Scheffler is celebrating a victory at the Travelers. The news is a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home this summer and make the rooms in your house look bigger with fiberglass replacement windows by Infinity from Marvin. Schedule an appointment by June 30th for 10% off installation. Visit woodlandwindows.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk says there should be more charges.
Now, let's be frank. This is not what Hunter Biden should be getting prosecuted for. We have to be very honest. Or it's not even remotely the only thing he's done wrong. In fact, that we know of. There are hundreds of crimes here. Foreign agent registration crimes, potential cyber privacy crimes.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Augustino's Rock and Roll Deli, a family-owned restaurant, a Chicago family favorite for over 40 years. Why? Because they're known for sub sandwiches the size of your forearm. No joke. Their 6-inch sub has more meat and cheese in it than any foot long in an Irish neighborhood. These sandwiches are iconic, famous for their homemade Italian beef, meatballs, burgers, and, of course, delicious Italian subs loaded with mortadella, cabagol, salami, provolone, and their own secret sauce called Love Potion No. 9. This vinegar and oil dressing is famous on its own. Both Augustino's locations boast walls covered in authentic rock and roll memorabilia and artifacts, all celebrating their love for good old-fashioned rock and roll. Augie's is a feast for your eyes and your stomach. Dine in or carry out. Bring the family or the team. Plus, Augie's caters corporate meetings, parties, and celebrations. Don't make it yourself. Make it happen with Augustino's. Go to Augustinos.com for locations and menus. That's Augustinos.com.
Let's see, if something costs less and people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, right? And that is MediShare, an amazing program. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save families up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of typical health insurance plans. Double. MediShare Works has been around for 30 years, and members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a nationwide PPO network. So yes, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you want to just plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes and see what you can save. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here is the number you need, 844-94-BIBLE. That is 844-94-BIBLE, 844-94-BIBLE. Bible.
Is your IRS tax debt making you feel anxious? The professionals at Allies Tax Relief are ready to negotiate your fresh start. Call them now, 800-230-5174.
5:38. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg traffic center time. Inbound Kennedy already jammed up Austin into Montrose. Delays as well as you travel on I-80. The off-ramp to I-57 has been under construction. Delays remain there. Addison, report of an accident this morning, Rolling Road at Army Trail. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. In the AM 560 Weather Center, we're seeing sunny skies today, high 86. Heavy storms will break near dawn overnight, low 74, and heavy storms continue tomorrow with a high near 90. Currently 66. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to matters surrounding the border, immigration, migrants, just one more baseball note of sorts. Dan Bernstein, how do conservative men listen to sports radio in this town, or frankly anywhere? Honestly, how do you listen to it? Dan Bernstein tweeted out, and by the way, let me just say about Reggie Jackson, because this is the topic. I'm a big fan of Reggie Jackson. I mentioned the documentary that came out last year, Reggie. I encourage people to see it. The good, the bad, and the ugly of what Reggie went through during his career, like Hank Aaron, and of course I'm talking about racism. I mean, but Reggie Jackson came up with the, in the minors in Birmingham at a time when Bull Connor was there. Okay, so that's a little context to Dan Bernstein's tweet. Reggie Jackson had the courage to describe the ugly racism he faced. Lawrence Holmes and I discussed how jarringly recent it is, and the ominous truth that half the country now wants those times back.
Oh, come on. Get a grip.
Right. It's 1963 Birmingham.
All
Dan
over
Bernstein,
again.
Al Sharpton, and there's no difference between the two. Race hustlers. How do you, I mean, in addition to just being mind-numbing to listen to grown men talk about, grown men mostly who were not athletes. I mean, there's exceptions. There's sports radio guys who know what they're talking about, give you value added, Tom Waddle talking about football. I get it. Dan Bernstein talking about anything? And then you're just going to sit there and sort of close your ears when he goes off on one of these MSNBC race hustles. Half the country now wants to go back. Right. Okay, keep trying. Keep pumping up Biden. I know, Dan, just like Joe said, right? If you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black. Put you all back in chains, right, Dan? Honestly, somebody, does anybody listen to The Score who listens to the show? Because I'd love to get a response to my question. How do you listen to these guys? Okay. There's a lot of people I can't stomach listening to. Handsy Andy Cuomo is one of them, but because he was on Bill Maher's show and because he broke from, himself and pretending like he just showed up on the scene, we'll address
Well,
it.
he's trying to rehabilitate his career, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. He has.
And he was given the platform. He's like, you know what? I'll take it. And
here's
fellow Democrats.
It's sort of like his brother Fredo's epiphany when it comes to COVID
and vaccines.
Yeah. Well, so Fredo had the epiphany on COVID, and Handsy Andy had the epiphany on open borders.
His immigration policy was a mistake, right? I get the theory of the extreme left. We're a land of immigrants, let everyone come in, we all came as immigrants. I get it. But how you do it makes all the difference in the world, right? And to just open the borders with no plan, you don't know where they go, you don't know who's going to pay for them. They wind up in cities all across the country. New York has a couple of 100,000 in hotels, costing New York City a fortune. No jobs, no training, no help assimilating into society. So who did you even help, right? It was a great theory.
You have the person in your old job, the governor of New York, a Democrat, saying, "Don't come here." Those are her exact words. "Don't come here." And the mayor of New York saying, "This is going to ruin our city." I mean, if I didn't know who was talking, I would have thought they would be Republicans.
Yeah, but they didn't stop them, Bill. They could have stopped them.
Right.
The governor was saying she didn't want them outside of New York City. But the mayor could have said no. The governor could have said no. Many mayors and governors said no. But New York was more of the ideological left. All are welcome. And now we're finding out, 200,000 people later, you needed a plan. You needed to know what to do with these people.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Yeah, a lot of governors and mayors could have stopped them. Do you know any, Andy?
Andy, yeah. And what would you have done, Handsy Andy?
What did he do? New York State was a sanctuary state when
he was there,
when Andy
right.
Cuomo was there.
And the clown sitting in between Bill Maher and Handsy Andy was Adam Kinzinger, who sat there in silence.
Yeah, well, that's Adam Kinzinger at his best when he's being silent. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. I just to have to listen to the recasting of this because this politician and that host want the Democrats to win, and they realize the albatross this issue is around the neck of Democrats and Biden in particular. We're supposed to give we're like duty bound to give Cuomo some credit for that statement, and I won't. Not going to do it. Because this is who the party really is. And I don't mean that performance from Cuomo and Maher trying to, hand wring and let's get it back together here. We got to have a plan. We can't just do it this way. But hey, all the people that you radical leftists want in office, we want in office too. Simone Sanders. Simone Sanders is a former Bernie bro. She has a show on MSNBC now. Of course she does. And they were having a little roundtable discussion, about people in this country illegally murdering girls.
And raping them first, though, Dan.
And this is how it went. This is where where they place import. This is a good example. Simone Sanders listening to Michael Steele trying to contextualize the issue. Really trying to you're a former RNC chairman, of course, MSNBC contributor, carrying water for Biden. Of course he is, because he's a never-Trumper. And actually, he's just a leftist. Michael Steele is just a leftist. Forget this never-Trumper term. Same with the Kinzinger. They're just men of the left. Let's call it what they is. Call them what they are. Here's Simone Sanders and Steele, the exchange. Pay close attention.
What do you tell the parents of those people, those young girls who were killed? This is absurdity. The preponderance of these people, Michael, are male.
But what is the difference between an illegal immigrant who unfortunately engages in that activity?
And we don't like that. I want to be clear. We don't use the term illegal. So undocumented individuals.
That's
sweet. They're illegal aliens.
Undocumented individuals versus anyone else who commits the same crime. Well, it's so.
Right. The big concern is the proper nomenclature when it comes to people in this country illegally. And, of course, Steele falls right in. And then this is the line of argumentation they're going to try, and I hope they do. It engages in that sort of activity, that sort of unfortunate activity. You can't use the word illegal immigrant. You can't use the word murder when it comes to illegal immigrants committing, murders.
Remember when Mayorkas had to apologize because he, declared the illegal who killed Laken Riley, and he apologized for calling the person illegal.
Yeah, well, so Michael Steele
sick.
just did it right there.
I know.
And so how is it any different than an American citizen committing a murder? That's the best I can offer. Okay, go with that. I'm not even going to respond to it because the response is so obvious that it doesn't doesn't necessitate enunciating. But that's what they're going with.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
John in Portage Park.
Good morning. Whenever you hear somebody end a sentence with the word right, like Handy Andy just did 4 times in that little clip, and Karine sounds like a pirate, Karine Jean-Pierre does all the time, they're full of jive, BS. And that's a tell. And you can always tell. Try it. It works every time.
Thanks for the call, John. Marty in Naperville.
Good morning. 2 quick things. Number one, Dan, sometimes I have to listen to the score because it's on a job site. It is the most mind-numbing, idiotic radio you've ever heard in your entire... These guys could analyze a piece of dirt. And if you disagree with Dan Bernstein, I do know my education. It's like, dude, you're a sports talk show. I can outthink you and anyone else. Okay. But and anyway, also I want to say, I just got back from Florida, and there's these billboards down there. Somebody put up about comparing Trump to Castro, and this is what the country's going to turn into. And then they started interviewing Cuban people, and the Cuban people are like, why would you think that Trump is going to be like Castro? And they kept trying to get all these Cuban people to say Trump was going to be a dictator. And they're all like, well, you don't have any idea what a dictatorship is like. Why would you? It was the funniest thing. And then, of course, they cut to something else. But you had to see it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, the Hitler comment didn't stick.
It's unbelievable. This Dan Bernstein and this Holmes guy, even him. He can't just put a sentence together without thinking about how intelligently he's got to say. He's like, dude, you're talking about baseball. It is hilarious, though.
Thanks for the call, Marty. Yeah, no, I'm dizzied by Dan Bernstein's intellect per his tweets because that's really all I know since I don't listen.
And they're trying to get the Cuban vote, but it's not going to work.
George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, I give Cuomo as much credit for his good nature as all these homeowners who have these signs, hate has no home. They're such beautiful people.
Yeah, that's actually a good comparison. Cuomo is like a walking hate has no home here sign. Yeah, that's good. That's on the money. Philip, Blue Island.
I was just calling about the Reggie Jackson story. When it comes to affirmative action and voting rights, and I was just sitting here thinking about even the anti-black sentiment, taking our phrase as far as being woke and being informed about our position in America and where we stand, and then it talks about the I think if I said this or not, affirmative action. And then what's going on in Texas with the whitewashing of the literature and the books and what's going on down in, the brother just mentioned Florida with that governor, and then not to mention Mississippi and Alabama. How is it that we're not moving backwards back to the 60s and the 50s and the 40s?
Are you serious? You think we're on the doorstep of Jim Crow 2.0?
I think so. I mean,
in what way?
All
Do you have
right.
any concrete example?
Well, he just ran through a bunch of non-examples that he thinks are examples.
They are examples. I mean, if affirmative action was necessary, then why does this time say that it's not necessary? If voting rights was necessary then, or voting protections were necessary, or housing protections, or all these other protections that came in with Johnson.
Hey, Philip.
Why is it not?
Just on the voting rights issue, what right do you have here in the Xanadu of Cook County, as compared to a similarly situated black man in, say, Atlanta, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Dallas, Texas. What's the difference? What do you have that they don't in those red states?
Well, as far as I don't know if that's a fair comparison, Dan, but I'm just saying as far as the Constitution.
I'm sorry. What's unfair about it? You're a black man, an American in Cook County. I'm asking you what right you have here when it comes to voting that black men in Atlanta or Dallas or Phoenix don't have. What's complicated about it?
It's not guaranteed by the Constitution. That's my only point.
What right do you have in Cook County, this Xanadu of leftism, the base camp of all that is righteous and good, that all the things that you love? What do you have here that they don't have in urban centers in red states?
It's a very good question.
Yeah,
but again,
I thought it would
my point, and it is a good point, Dan. You know, it's a good point that I probably need to think a little bit more about. But the fact that our right to vote, as far as black people in the United States of America, is not guaranteed by the Constitution, because we got to bring it up every 20 years, and then it's in the Congress' hands, and if they determine at one point, like, okay, do away with affirmative action and all these other laws all these other protections.
You're familiar with like the 13th and 14th Amendments, right, Philip? This isn't Reconstruction anymore. I hate to break it to you. There is no you do not have any less of a right to vote in this country, any less protection to your franchise than I do. That's just not true. And so it comes around every 20 years. Frankly, it comes around every 4 years, right around the time of a presidential election, because you have race hustlers hustling. You have your buddy Joe Biden out there saying you can't have a glass of water while you wait in line to vote in Georgia, and
it's hot out.
I mean, it's nonsense. And thanks for the call, Philip. But your inability. I mean, you're right. I appreciate you said you need to think through it a little bit more. But, I mean, yeah, so think through it a little bit more. Your inability to be able to distinguish your rights and guarantees here as opposed to the rights and guarantees black men, black women, minorities generally have in every other state in the union speaks to two things. One, how baseless the accusations are, you and Dan Bernstein. Number two, how good their marketing is, how powerful the race hustle has been, unfortunately. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I recall, I think 1986. Didn't Reagan have a plan for immigration? I'm confused. And if they think it's an albatross, just an albatross around their neck, the immigration issue, the poll last week, 62% of the American people across all political spectrums want these people deported. So that's a pretty strong word and a pretty strong feeling. They just don't want them not to be here. They want them deported.
Yeah, including 53% of Latinos. Yes.
Exactly, because the people who wait in line and do the right thing are tired of being stepped on. And what was that guy talking about? I mean, earlier, I've lost my point, but I mean, it's just the stupidity out of Philip it's mind-boggling. This is why Chicago's in the shape it's in, and why our country's in the shape it's in.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. I did want to know just on the there's so much to talk about with respect to the border, but we'll get to more of it. But the NPR Times.
What did they do now?
Government-funded, state-run media. NPR Times. Why we traveled to Toronto to learn about immigration. A multi-series piece from the NPR Times. These are serious thinkers. We need to go to Toronto to figure out this immigration thing. What is Canada doing so right that the United States is doing so wrong? Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow, you can often see her dancing with transvestites at the local clubs there. One should see them as nation builders, migrants. Yeah. They've helped build Canada. They helped build Toronto. There's almost like nothing to grab onto with respect to these NPR Times stories. They're just so funny because they're so context, consequence free. It's just, what did you learn? I have no idea from reading the pieces. In 2019, there were 64,000 refugee claimants made in Canada. That number jumped to 143,000 in 2023. But some CEO of some Toronto-based organization said the whole issue of global displacement will continue, so be prepared. But then they go on to say, oh, well, they've got this express entry system that Canadians do. They stood up in 2019, and it allows people to get work visas easier here, while the U.S. has specific criteria for work permits, like the H-1B visa program. Canada offers more options, such as a program that allows speakers of French to get a work permit. Companies can also make the case to the government, known as a labor market impact assessment, that there aren't any Canadians available to fill positions so they can hire immigrants. Oh, by the way, you can do that here, too. Anyway, the problems with U.S. immigration actually help us Canadians because we're the solution quite often to that problem. Yeah, no, it's going gangbusters. I bounced this agitprop from the NPR Times up against my buddy Jerry Agar, former Chicago talk show host, now in Toronto. Average home price in Toronto is $1.2 million now. Refugees are sleeping in the street. Anti-Semitism is through the roof. Bullets fired into Jewish schools, including a girls' schools. The PM brings in more and more immigrants, facilitates illegal border crossings, and tell Quebecers in French on radio, don't worry, we're sending them to Toronto. Yeah, it sounds like Toronto's following the Chicago playbook, is what it sounds like.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, we'll do a little debate prep, POTUS debate prep, 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Ed Burke is to be sentenced today, and Illinois' unemployment increases. WIND Chicago News Time,
Talks
6.
Amid tension. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has come to America for talks with the Secretaries of Defense in the state as Hezbollah attacks from Lebanon lead to fears of a war there as Israel keeps waging war against Hamas in Gaza. And the Prime Minister is accusing the U.S. of cutting back on weapon shipments to help.
Israeli forces have been involved in intense fighting in Rafah for weeks, but we're told the operation in the southern Gazan city will soon start to wind down. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, though, insists they'll keep fighting until Hamas is completely driven from power. Also, bad news for supporters of the US-backed plan to wind down the war. Prime Minister Netanyahu says he'll only agree to a partial ceasefire.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. At least 19 people are dead after a terror attack in Russia, including a pastor, and police officers responding to attacks on houses of worship in the predominantly Muslim region of Dagestan. It's believed they were Islamic militants who were also killed. The FBI is offering a $10,000 reward for information on whoever started wildfires in New Mexico that burned down hundreds of homes and buildings, killing 2 people.
Crews have been attacking the fires raging outside of Ruidoso. With over 1,000 firefighters on the ground, they are working to keep the fires at bay alongside the help of rain.
Gabe Chavez with KRQE-TV. There's a flooding disaster in states to the north. Hundreds of properties destroyed in Iowa where hundreds of people needed water rescues. Governor Kim Reynolds says
we're asking for additional federal assistance for 9 counties, as well as 22 counties for public assistance.
There's also flooding in Minnesota and South Dakota where 1 person was killed. And there are heat alerts from the Dakotas to the Gulf Coast. It'll feel like more than 100 degrees out. A Hawaiian surfer has been killed in a shark attack in Oahu. Not just any surfer. Tamayo Perry was also a lifeguard and an actor in TV shows and movies like Blue Crush and a Pirates of the Caribbean film. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunrise, 66 degrees. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere died Sunday night. His family announced that there are no details of cause of death, but they will share more in the coming days. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox allegedly assaulted over the weekend. William Sweats of Flossmoor is charged. He's been ordered back to court on Tuesday. A person of interest is in custody. It all follows the deadly shooting of a retired Chicago police officer last week in West Garfield Park. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling marched with members of the community on Sunday before a teenager was brought in.
You cannot call yourself a man because you told a gun. You cannot call yourself a man because you robbed someone. That doesn't make you a great human being. What it makes you is a criminal. It makes you an armed robber. You shoot someone, it makes you a murderer.
Multiple reports say a 16-year-old boy turned himself in to Chicago police yesterday. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. Federal jury found Burke guilty last December of racketeering, bribery, and extortion. Chicago's Buckingham Fountain is back on after being vandalized over the weekend in an apparent protest against the ongoing war in Gaza. Over the weekend, residents near the site of the future Obama Presidential Center took their concerns directly to the mayor.
The longer we take to pass this legislation, the more irreversible harm will happen to our friends, family, and neighbors.
The Woodlawn Preservation Society wants more protection for residents from displacement, and the mayor is promising that.
As we look forward to the completion of this city, we must ensure that it benefits the people of our city, and especially South Shore.
Just to our north, the tornado count from Saturday night in Wisconsin is now 6. National Weather Service says 6 tornadoes fell Saturday night, most in southern Wisconsin. Stanley Cup will make its way to the ice tonight, one way or the other. Panthers and Oilers battling in a Game 7. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2, while the White Sox lost to the Tigers 11-2. The news is a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka wants you to get involved.
To win the election, we absolutely must. Everything is at stake. The planet as we know it, our democracy.
This is not your grandfather's, even your father's Democrat Party. It's lunatics, it's radicals, it's people who hate America, and we must save the nation from them. How? Get engaged.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. Changing the world one life at a time.
I've been watching it on TV, and then my soul has my husband, and I guess he just called up and surprised me. He had ordered it, and I didn't expect it for me to notice it so right away. I kind of shocked my husband when I told him. I've been taking it like a little over a week. I'm taking it, and then I can already notice the difference. I just feel very good. I can't even put it into words. I feel really good every day. I don't wake up grouchy. I love everybody to think it. I think it's wonderful.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Hugs from patients like Patrick.
It's something QC Kinetics medical professionals experience every day.
I hugged them. You should hug somebody who does that for you. They gave me my life back, and I really didn't know where I was going to go because I was definitely afraid of having a knee replacement done.
No surgery, no downtime with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. They give patients relief from joint pain using their own healing properties to repair and restore damaged tissue. And the results? Well, that's why we see a lot of hugs at QC Kinetics.
Everything is back that I thought I was never going to be able to do again. I'm still smiling, and sometimes it gets emotional. I get a tear in my eye because of how I was before I went in there.
Those smiles and hugs never get old at QC Kinetics. It means patients are finally getting relief. And now, it's your turn. Call QC Kinetics today for your complimentary consultation and see if you're a good candidate for these amazing treatments.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Starting in Joliet and right now Jefferson, east and westbound between Humboldt and Airport Road, entirely shut down. Bad accident and the investigation continues. Delays on the Tri-State this morning. Disabled vehicle, right-hand shoulder between North Avenue and the Grand Avenue curve on the northbound side of 294. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. In the AM 560 Weather Center, here's Steve Williams.
Lots of sun today with a high at 86. Partly cloudy, warm, a heavy thunderstorm moving in toward dawn tonight. That could bring some hail and damaging wind, low 74. Clouds and sun, breezy, hot, a heavy gusty thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
66 at O'Hare, 64 in Aurora, 69 Lakefront. Your next news, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Emmy. Mike Scott reported on it. We want to get into the details here a bit. Because, as you know, Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx has said that, well, and this has been the posture for her entire time in office, we don't want to spend a lot of office resources on nonviolent minor crimes, retail theft of under $1,000, for example, because all our resources, the office's resources, are focused on interdicting violent crime to make Cook County safer from violent felons like William Sweats. It's working. They're doing the work.
They're putting in the time.
They have a plan, and they're executing it because William Sweats has been charged with multiple felonies for throwing a big gulp on Kim Foxx.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And he was released, because of the Safety Act, and he has no priors, and I don't know if her life felt threatened, but after he threw the liquid on her, he then accelerated her car so much so that she had to get out of the way.
No, you got it reversed. They had an exchange. He reversed to come back at her. First of all, according to the official account, Sweats was driving somewhere in Flossmoor about 10:30 in the morning, and he told Fox, "Get off the road, bitch." And because she was obviously in the way. Maybe she was walking in the middle of the road. And then Kim Foxx saluted him with the middle finger, is reading between the lines. Then when he saw the middle finger in his rearview mirror, he reversed. They had more colorful words, and then he threw a big gulp on her. That's how it went.
And his hearing is set for tomorrow, and I think he's going to show up.
Yeah, he's going to show up like Jamal Bowman shows up. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I can't hear enough Ludacris. He's got the right to, make his way to wherever he's going in Flossmoor, in and around Flossmoor, so he can make the money to pay Kim Fox's salary. That's what I say. I say.
What do you say, Dad?
Free William Sweats.
No.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
He was in a GMC truck. I mean, she could have possibly have been injured. So we're not wishing violence on her by any means.
No, I'm
but
wishing a big gulp on her.
Okay.
And I
But
got
you
my,
wish it was a Slurpee instead.
I got my wish. I assume that he had heard our show last week where he talked about the Chill program that they have launched in Montgomery County, Maryland, where they're handing out coupons for a Slurpee for people who do nice things. The cops are armed with coupon pads rather than guns in Montgomery County, Maryland, to hand out. That a boy, here's a free Slurpee card, and this is his way of saluting the Chill program, maybe.
Oh, boy.
Big gulp.
Do you think they knew each other? I mean,
He said he didn't have any idea who she was.
oh, okay.
Well, by the way, I mean,
Oh, so okay. He's 34 years old. All right.
by the way, he is being charged with multiple felony counts, but yet Kim Fox can beat up her husband for playing video games, and she doesn't get charged. She could be a domestic abuser, and she doesn't get charged.
He did call police because he was in.
I know,
fear
and she didn't get
for his life.
arrested.
No, she didn't.
And
the
she didn't get
and
charged.
What's worse too, because we FOIA'd it.
And he
No,
was.
wait, they didn't
he
turn on
was-
their body cam.
And
Yes.
importantly, he was just short of his personal high score
PR, yeah, or PB, personal best, yeah.
when the attack happened. When Kim Fox
she
attacked
took
him,
his
and
remote,
she
his
didn't
video game
she didn't just give him the big gulp. She gave him the right and the left, as I understand it. She gave him the 1-2.
That's why he called police, and he sat there on
She
the
gave
steps.
him the knuckle sandwich.
He didn't feel safe. After he called police, he sat on the steps of the house waiting for them
Crying.
to arrive. And then they turned off their body cam video. They're not supposed to do that by law, so nobody could see it.
I assume he was traumatized. Now he lives in fear.
I think they're going through a divorce.
I think Kim Fox probably has him, down in the dungeon so they can get
Yeah, playing video games with Todd Stroger.
no, so they can get a property tax break like that sex dungeon in Chicago gets. You see that story?
Oh.
Yeah, there's a sex dungeon in Chicago that's getting the Ben Bradley treatment from the Cook County Assessor's Office, paying allegedly paying
A fourth of what they would normally pay, or
yeah,
what?
like
Half?
$300,000 less than they
Oh.
should have paid.
Where who's stuck in the sex dungeon?
No, it's voluntary.
It's voluntary. Oh,
You know,
okay.
it's just like it's one of the businesses that are making Chicago great. This is one of our cottage industries, dominatrixes and the humiliation and stuff like that. As if it's possible to humiliate a Chicago resident.
All right, so this guy Schwetz, 2 felony aggravated assault with a motor vehicle. And aggravated theft.
It's not Schwetz. He's not German. It's William Sweats.
William Sweats.
Yeah. Name
I'm
assassinator.
sweating. Yes.
Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's morning answer.
Good morning. Yet another clear case for high-capacity cup control.
Absolutely.
If somebody is thirsty, they can refill smaller cups more frequently. So he will have to get a small cup and go back to the fountain and wait in line to refill. That would leave Kim Fox and other people less likely to be victimized by high-volume cup tossage.
Well, that's exactly right. That's where I was going to go. You beat me to the punch. But look, there is no reason, and I think, Ralph, you'd agree, there's no reason anyone needs to drink a 32-ounce drink.
Exactly.
There's no reason for that.
It's
no,
excessive.
No, there's
Being
no
selfish.
reason for it. And nobody's that thirsty.
Exactly. Nobody is that thirsty. Nobody needs 32 ounces of
A sugar drink.
A sugar drink, mainlined into their system in one fell
Correct.
swoop. That's absolutely right.
That is the point.
Yes.
But I mean,
for the call,
I wonder if
Ralph.
she feels safe knowing that he's still out on the streets.
No, I think it's 7-Elevens
I mean, he was told
are still open.
He was told to stay away from her.
Uh-huh.
But is he going to do it? I mean, I don't know. You reap what you sow there, woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. She can't even look at a 7-Eleven now. She's so traumatized.
It's not like she was just out for a morning walk, and because she's lost a lot of lbs.
Oh, that's how she's done it?
I don't know how she's done it, but
Yeah. He was toasting her.
Oh,
that would be my
right.
defense.
Oh, he's baptizing her.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I hear he.
Job well done. And then he had a little slippage.
But the fact that he didn't know who she was. Uh-oh.
He
What
knew
did
who she was. He said
knew.
so. He knew who she was. Joe and Dundee.
Amy. Yeah, I think we all forgot about the 16 stitches that were put into Barack Obama's lip by Michelle's left hook.
Oh.
It was not his basketball buddies that gave him.
Yeah, Arnie Duncan's too much of a pea hat to cause that kind of damage. You're right. Thanks for the call, Joe.
Wonder what Arnie Duncan's doing now.
Probably crocheting something. Matt, Southside.
Good morning. I'd like to buy this guy a large, hot cup of coffee.
32 ounces, maybe?
No.
64?
They do come in 64.
Yeah.
And 72 as well.
But Matt, you're not condoning violence against the Cook County State's Attorney.
No,
are you?
he's not.
Well, no. I mean, I can say what he's going to do with the cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're lucky it
I'm
wasn't
hoping he
coffee,
drinks-
so he
I'm
didn't
hoping he
burn her
drinks it.
face, guys. Come on.
Nobody.
She's pretty.
Oh, she's gorgeous. She's almost as pretty as Michelle Obama. Thanks for
That's
the call, Matt.
no one's prettier than Michelle Obama.
Stunning.
Gorgeous.
Runway material, both of them. And by runway, I mean like 14 right, 32 left at O'Hare. David Winnetka.
Hey, good morning, guys. 2 points to make. So this story reminds me of something that happened in my world. I was living in Hawaii at my way to a mortgage signing. I was a loan officer, and I was at a red light.
You've lived a fascinating life.
Yeah,
if
you
I may
have,
interrupt, David, you were a mortgage broker in Hawaii. You're an Uber driver on the North Shore. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm driving, there, and I was out in Kapolei. Kapolei is like, it's very sparse, not a lot going on and whatever. But anyways, there was a mentally ill woman, mumbling and humbling across the street, blah, blah, blah. And she was carrying one of those giant drinks from 7-Eleven, and I guess the same size as a kid box. But anyways, she beelined right to my car. I wasn't paying attention, and launched the entire full thing all over me. I mean, my tie, my shirt, my whatever, got all over the papers. It was just nuts. But the other point, the true point I wanted to make was...
Wait, why,
so you took one in the eye. How did it feel?
Wait, why did she do that?
Oh, yeah.
It was so random and out of the world that it's just mental illness, and I maybe she thought it was Kim Fox.
Could be.
But speaking of Kim Fox, again, it's the rules for thee and not for me. And what I mean by that is like look at the Smollett thing. Like whatever happened to Jesse Smollett, he just disappears and goes off. He caused so much damage. I guarantee it. We just didn't see it all. But at that time, that volatile angst and everything that was going on, I'm sure people took beatings and losses and robbings and stabbings and blah. And he just disappears and everything is fine. It's just not cool.
He needs to pay back the city for the overtime that he caused.
You know,
tens of thousands of dollars in police overtime.
Meanwhile,
when real murders could have been solved. But
meanwhile, that video you may have seen, a burglar being attacked by a frying pan wielding homeowner.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
That was actually, it was pretty lame.
Oh.
The homeowner has a frying pan. He's gonna go after the burglar with a frying pan. I mean, where's that, Lakeview? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, easy.
Pea hat. Give me a frying pan. That's the best you got?
What is this, a Tom and Jerry skit?
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
exactly.
And he got boing, and then you'd hear the noise effect. And then his head would form the shape of the frying pan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if that didn't work, he was going to strangle the burglar with his skirt. So that went viral. We find out that the burglar, 12-time convicted felon who was paroled 3 months ago.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, other cases of real crime that rise to a slightly higher level of incidence than, say, a Big Gulp. 52-year-old robbed in Streeterville at 3 a.m. The person prosecutors say is the responsible party, was supposed to be home on electronic monitoring. Because he has a gun case pending against him. Violent criminal. Gun case. Gun cases. We're focused on gun cases, getting illegal guns off the streets, getting people who own guns illegally or use guns illegally off the street. And he's on the street and he mugs a 52-year-old. But that's where Kim Fox is focusing her resources as she, plays the victim of the Great Big Gulp incident. And by the way, the electronic monitoring thing, too, it's amazing.
Cook County Sheriff's Department is in charge of that.
Yeah, I know.
How are they doing?
Rokan, right? Is Rokan in charge of that? Or what's he in charge of?
He's a carjacking task force.
Oh, of course. It's going great.
Swimmingly.
All that law enforcement training you got at WLS is really paying off. I mean, honestly, could this city be a bigger joke? Could it be a bigger joke? It couldn't be. It couldn't be. Although then you have Kim Fox get doused with a big gulp and it's the big story. So I guess it could be. The electronic monitoring program, you and I both know someone who is on electronic monitoring right now.
Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm.
And when he goes to pick up his kids, he's confined to like his home and like a workspace. So there's a radius. When this happened, he went to pick up a couple of his kids at a school event, and the electronic monitoring on his ankle started talking to him. They're
saying what? Turn around.
No.
Go back.
No, they're operators that talk through the electronic monitoring. And so he's like, you have to immediately return home. And he starts arguing with his ankle. But I'm just going to pick up my kids from school and so on and so forth. And you go back, don't care. Here are the restrictions per the court, and you have to live by these restrictions. So you have X amount of time to get back home. So he is being monitored. This is a
child support case.
Yeah, protracted divorce, child support case. This is not a violent case. Meanwhile, the guy who's out on pending a gun case can leave his home. Apparently, his ankle isn't arguing with him.
No,
and
not at all.
He robs a guy in Streeterville
at 3 a.m. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can't make this stuff up.
William Sweat's enemy number one.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Have you heard about the latest tax hikes? They're about to obliterate your savings and threaten small businesses. The government's 2025 budget shows a mind-blowing 87.4% hike in capital gains taxes. Yeah, it's bad, and it's set to decimate the stock market and your savings. Historical lessons teach us to preserve what we've built in times like these. That's where gold comes in. Prices have been on the rise in 2024, and they're predicted to surge even higher. There's no better time to start your precious metals portfolio and start making gold a priority with Priority Gold. Learn how gold can help diversify and preserve your savings. Call 1-800-405-GOLD. Mention GUIDE for a free gold information guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Again, call 1-800-405-GOLD and mention GUIDE, or visit PriorityGold.com/guide. That's PriorityGold.com/guide.
All right. Don't forget Balance of Nature supplements. Remember, hot dogs, burgers, brats don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. That's why I've been taking supplements with Balance of Nature for nearly a decade. It's so easy to open up the individual capsules and dust them over salad or mix them into juice drinks or warm water. That's how I do it. And thousands of AM 560 listeners love their Balance of Nature.
You ever mix it into your big gulp?
No.
By any chance?
No.
Try that.
I will. They love it, and you will too. 6 capsules a day provides your body, heart, and mind with over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You will love it. Your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. So order your fruit and veggie supplements today by calling 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% off your first order and free shipping as a preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago. Balance of Nature fruits and vegetable supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
At Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago, we honor traditions, celebrate faith, and cherish memories. Take an active role in establishing your legacy for future generations by pre-planning your final arrangements today. Alleviate your loved ones of future financial burden. Lock in today's prices and take advantage of interest-free financing and no hidden fees. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Between the Consumer Price Index, inflation, and job reports, it feels like you need a PhD in economics to fully understand the economic news happening around us every day. That's why you need the Everyday Economics Podcast. Join host Chris Krug and economist Dr. Orphe Devungi as they help you understand the economic world happening around you every day. Listen to the Everyday Economics Podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Smoke fumes and dust are a nuisance your business can do without, causing health hazards for employees and possible EPA problems for your company. If you need help cleaning up these problems, call a company that has the expertise and capability to help.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. I've got over 40 years of personal experience in dealing with smoke fumes and dust emissions, and I can help you eliminate these problems from your plant. Contact Vans for a no-cost evaluation of your system, and we will size equipment, design hoods and ductwork for a complete turnkey solution.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics, insured at the highest levels to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your ventilation inspection today. That's 833-VANSIND. You can also visit them online at vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
AM 560, The Answer.
By the way, on the Kim Fox Big Gulp Caper.
Yeah, we know that it was root beer because some of it landed in her mouth.
Oh, the horror of it. She was enjoying her morning walk.
Yeah.
10:30 a.m. on a Friday. She's enjoying her morning walk. It's not like she has any work to do.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't a Saturday. It was a Friday.
Yeah, 10:30 a.m. Like, you know what? Go for a walk.
Well, my friend that works at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office says since COVID, she is never there. If she shows up one day a week, it's a big deal. But she never goes into work. But yeah, that's a cush job, huh?
That's beautiful. That is beautiful right there. All right, coming up at 6:36, President Trump in Philadelphia has some predictions for Thursday night's debate, 6:36.
But now straight into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott. Mike, welcome back.
Good to be welcome. 6:30 on AM 560. Nice weather today, but some storms on the way. 3 days of mourning in Russia. Fox's Jonathan Savage explains why.
Attacks on churches, a synagogue, and a police post have left more than 19 police officers and several civilians dead. The shootings took place in Russia's southern Republic of Dagestan. 6 gunmen were killed by security forces, according to the area's governor. Sergei Melikov says the attacks were prepared abroad, but didn't give details. It's just 3 months since an attack on a concert hall in Moscow left 145 people dead. ISIS claimed responsibility, but authorities accused Ukraine and the West of involvement. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
President Biden and former President Trump preparing for their first debate set Thursday in Atlanta. Former President Trump and the current president preparing that debate while policy discussions continue as well with Republican and Democrat lawmakers. Flooding in northwest Iowa's Rock Valley led many residents to have to abandon their homes over the weekend.
Some residents of Rock Valley forced to evacuate their homes to a church here in town where volunteers are helping out those displaced from this disaster.
If you do get an evacuation order, it's serious. That means that you need to evacuate. We have homeowners that think that they can stand it out and that they'll be fine, and then we're bringing additional resources into the situation for them to get in there and rescue the families.
Floodwaters are receding, but portions of Highway 18 remain closed from flooding from the Rock River. In Rock Valley, I'm Chris Turner.
A surfing icon is dead after a shark attack. Tamayo Perry was attacked Sunday off Oahu in Hawaii. The 49-year-old is known for his work as an actor in Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, Blue Crush, Lost, and a number of other productions. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere died Sunday night. His family announced Deere represented the county's 2nd district. The family says it will share more in the coming days. A person of interest is in custody, all following the deadly shooting of a retired Chicago police officer last week in West Garfield Park. Police say Larry Newman was shot and killed Thursday while working in his yard. Pastor Paul Sims was a friend of Newman.
It's time for change. It's time for action. A man can come home from Vietnam, retire from CPD, work at Homeland Security, but he can't work in his own yard. Something's wrong with that.
Multiple reports say a 16-year-old boy turned himself into Chicago police yesterday. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. A federal jury found Burke guilty last December of racketeering, bribery, and extortion charges. Prosecutors are asking for 10 years. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2. White Sox continued their horrible season, 11-2 losers to the Tigers at Comerica Park. And one of the top basketball recruits in the country this morning has announced he's coming to Champaign. 5-star winger Will Riley announced he's committing to the Fighting Illini. The news, a service of Allstate. Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate. Why make things harder than they need to be? There's a better way to save time and money. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher sees good numbers for Trump.
The Real Clear Politics average of polling says it may even be a landslide. And I don't know if we dare use the L word this far out, but my gosh, because everything is pointing towards a Trump victory if Joe Biden is his opponent.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
You've worked hard and accumulated wealth, but you know the pitfalls involved in passing significant assets to your heirs. The team at Spahn Financial will help you feel secure with personalized financial planning to achieve your legacy goals. They anticipate and manage all your wealth planning needs and focus on the full financial picture, including tax efficiency, income distribution throughout retirement, philanthropic giving, estate planning, and more. They even help you prepare the next generation to be good stewards. Kevin Spahn is a 2024 Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisor and Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisor. Visit SpahnFinancial.com to schedule a consultation and to view disclosures. That's SPAHMFinancial.com. Forbes Best in State Wealth Advisors List, April 2024. Data as of 6/30/2023. Barron's Top 1200 Financial Advisors List, March 2024. Data as of 9/30/2023. No compensation provided for ratings. Marketing fees apply to promote ratings.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Dr. Zhang. I'm a doctor of podiatric medicine.
My name is Todd. I'm a paramedic firefighter. I've been on the job for 28 years.
My name is Dr. Peter Munda. I'm a chiropractor in New York, Long Island.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for 23 years.
I love Balance of Nature, and this is definitely a product that I would recommend to other people, and I'll never stop taking it.
How many 70-year-old pictures you know? As far as Balance of Nature goes, I'll keep taking this stuff until the day I die, you know?
I'm almost 55 years old, and because I have so much vitality, I can really enjoy the great outdoors. Our bodies are kind of like machines. If you do not give the machine the proper nutrition, it's not going to work very well. Simple as that.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
6:37, a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Edens is okay. The Kennedy at 45 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 41, inbound Stevenson 51, your jam solid Harlem through Kedzie. Dan Ryan, Right now at 17 from 95th in, and delays on the Bishop Ford inbound due to an accident. Left shoulder now, 111th, between 111th and the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, mostly sunny and 86 today. 66 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. On X, somebody made the point that the Wanderer, actually. Big Soda is going to have them go after you next. You know, the faceless adversary Tony went after years ago. Sure, Queen Sugar, Tony Preckwinkle.
If only we had the sugar tack in place, this might not have happened.
No, I wonder, that's a good...
He might have got a 32-ounce instead of a 64-ounce.
He raises a good point, though, that I wonder if Big Soda ordered the hit on Fox. Hopefully the Cook County State's Attorney's Office will look into that. Okay. Well, maybe we can return to the Kim Fox big gulp incident.
Well, we'll see if he shows up for his court hearing, and I want to see his mug shots.
We'll be following this case very closely.
No, we will be.
Absolutely. Yeah. See if we can get
justice needs to be served.
William Sweats on the show. Justice needs to be served. Yeah. Maybe with some hot tamales and a hot dog.
I'm going to reach out to his
use
defense
that big gulp
attorney
to wash it
see.
down. He's got a public defender, I think.
Oh, well.
They're not going to talk. Nice try,
Well,
though.
I could try.
Go directly to him. Let's go. Let's get William Sweats on the show. We can. I mean, I can.
You have people.
I'm not going to represent him, but I can maybe offer some defenses that he could offer in court.
Such as? Oh, do tell. Oh no, that's secret.
Well, I mean, I've sort of said, but we'll get back to it. Okay. All right, we got other heady matters to cover. Speaking of making arguments, the debate is Thursday night, and Trump was offering a preview. Boy, it seems like it's just 2020 all over again. I mean, everybody enjoying the Biden's all drugged up, and they're gonna
try different concoctions to see what sticks within this next 7 days because he has no public appearances, not leaving Camp David.
Yeah, and we should have drug tests and stuff. This is exactly the same thing that was going on in 2020. Does everybody remember?
Oh, he didn't. He's sleeping now because they want to get him good and strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and that's.
Hello.
They want to strengthen him up. So he comes out. He'll come out. I say he'll come out all jacked up, right? All jacked up.
Mm-hmm. Well, how he's going to come out is whether he's jacked up or not. It was previewed by Mitch Landrieu, who's Biden National Campaign co-chairman, former mayor of New Orleans. There's a record of success. Oh,
how'd that work out for him?
What? BLM Brandon was unavailable. Lori Lightfoot. Anyway, Mitch Landrieu providing a debate prep, a preview, and probably this is what's going on during debate prep, of how they're going to come at Trump with twice impeached, convicted felon, a few other things.
Well, I'll let the president say what he's going to say, but the fact of the matter is that the sky is blue sometimes, and Donald Trump is a convicted felon. And the American people have to sit in that for a second. The person who wants to be president has to go sit with his probation officer before he actually goes to the debate. And so it is just a fact. But it's not just to call Donald Trump a convicted felon. It goes to his behavior and it goes to his character. Remember, he's actually filed bankruptcy 6 times. That means that he's not just a bad business guy. It means he screwed all the small people who actually relied on him for a living. And so the American people are going to see that. When you have 17 cabinet members and his chief of staff saying to you, I witnessed this guy, the people who know Donald Trump, the people who know Donald Trump the best like him the least. That's worth taking a moment on to think about whether or not this guy's just going to be better next time at being bad.
Better at being bad. Oh, they workshop that line. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Pick up your crazy heart and give it another try. Better at being bad. Oh, that's fun. What do you expect or suggest should be the rejoinder to what you just heard from Mitch Landrieu with respect to you're a convicted felon, you're 2-time impeached, you're a bad dude, personally, professionally, in every other possible way, and you're unfit for the presidency. Unfit for the presidency.
Well, Trump's got to point out, it was a sham trial. They changed the rules in order to get him, that the feds passed on this case for a reason, and that he's trying to attack his political opponent through the judicial system. Plain and simple. But I don't know how Biden's going to, sometimes Biden gets angry because I have thought for a while that he has dementia, and the early stages of that, I had relatives that had that, and it is nasty. All of a sudden, sometimes they'll just start yelling at you for no reason. And I think that that's what might transpire on Thursday.
Here's the thing about predicting what Biden will or won't do in terms of how well or he'll stand up, literally and figuratively. Worry about what you can control. And I hope that's what the Trump campaign is doing. You can't control how how Biden is going to perform, but Trump can control how Trump is going to perform. Mm-hmm. You can control what you're going to say. You can control how you're going to respond, pivot, frame issues. And maybe that's what we should be focused on as well. Whatever Biden does or doesn't do is beyond your control. Whatever Trump does or doesn't do is beyond our control too. But in terms of what you want to focus on, the things that are within Trump's purview, it's the old John Wooden, why he didn't scout his opponents. If we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what they do. Yeah. Maybe spend a little bit more time on that and a little bit less time predicting Biden's collapse on stage. Mike in Melrose Park, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, that clip you just played with the guy talking about Trump's crimes and felony conviction and stuff. How about Trump comes out and says, ladies and gentlemen, meet my opponent. He's too stupid to stand trial for his crimes, but he wants to be your president.
I think you're close.
That would just seem perfect.
Thanks for the call, Mike. I think you're close. It's not too stupid.
I wouldn't say that.
I'd say, right. The difference between me and him is he was found mentally unfit to stand trial. Right?
That's true. You're not exaggerating at all.
And then you can go into the sham prosecution and listen to what Andy Cuomo says about it. Listen to what Judge Judy says about it. Judge Judy probably a more accessible figure to many Americans, particularly the superficial voter than any politician, including Cuomo. But Cuomo, again, on Maher's show, not only is he now all of a sudden against open borders, he's now all of a sudden offended by the Trump prosecutions. Didn't sound like he would be offended by Trump prosecutions for just about anything under the sun when he was governor of New York, but now that he's on his rehab tour.
The trial in New York, the one he got convicted for, was the greatest fundraising bonanza ever. He was lagging behind Biden, and now he's pulled quite a bit ahead. That trial was the greatest reason people had to send their checks for $5, $10, $25, whatever dollars to Donald Trump. So I was always with you on the one in New York, the hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case, and people were always just going to look at it that way. So anyway.
That case, the Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. Wow. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be, because if there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.
Well, there's a quote there, if Trump can remember it, or, words to that effect, doesn't remember verbatim. It might be useful to bring that up. It might even be useful to bring up what Judge Judy had to say to Chris Wallace.
I would be happier as someone who owns property in Manhattan if the district attorney of New York County would take care of criminals who are making it impossible for citizens to walk in the streets and use the subway, to use his efforts to keep those people off the street, than to spend $5 million or $10 million of taxpayers' money trying Donald Trump on this nonsense. That's my view. But I, as a taxpayer in this country, resent using the system for your own personal self-aggrandizement. Now, if you didn't know...
And that's what you think the DA did in Manhattan?
That's what I think. I mean, if you look, you had to twist yourself into a pretzel to figure out what the crime was.
I think those are strong words. Good. I mean, it's what Trump did, after court each day, reading the reviews from law professors and legal scholars and pundits and so forth. But it's just the idea that, listen to people who don't otherwise like me, don't otherwise agree with me. Judge Judy supported Nikki Haley in the primary. Andy Cuomo is obviously a Democrat. And these people resent. They don't just disagree. They resent what Alvin Bragg did. That should tell you something about what he did.
What about Friday's Supreme Court decision that ruled a jury must be unanimous to convict someone of a crime? I mean, does that open the door for Trump's, hush money case to be declared a mistrial?
The Erlinger case is the case that you're referring to, one of the two important cases that were decided, or the holdings were released on Friday. So it's not going to be a mistrial, but it does provide grounds for the appeal at both the state court level and, again, it doesn't look likely now that we're on the cusp of month's end, at the Supreme Court level. You could have an emergency appeal. And I think, as we've talked about with Andy McCarthy and others, probably the only way the Supreme Court takes up Trump's appeal directly from the state trial court is if on July 11th, Judge Merchan puts him in prison.
Okay. And he could do that. That is a possibility.
It's a possibility. Because, right, then I think you have the sort of election interference that the Supreme Court is not going to be able to let stand, particularly given what transpired in that trial and how it runs afoul of the decisions the Supreme Court issued on Friday. Vince in Geneva. Hey, Vince.
Hello.
Vince!
We're going to give you 2 seconds. One?
Hear me now?
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yes.
Nobody knows how to use mute anymore. Or they know how to mute their phone, but they don't know how to unmute it. Go ahead. All right,
2
Vince.
points. You just have to say we were both investigated for having classified documents. His DOJ indicted me 34 times. Let him off and said he was too incompetent. At the end of this debate, you're either going to determine, yes, this guy is incompetent, or we have a corrupt DOJ system, two-tiered. He's great. He did great in the debate, so why didn't they indict him? Because we have a two-tiered justice system, and they went after me for political purposes.
Thanks for the call, Vince. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. You're almost getting to the point, like, this is not a perfect analogy, so don't get offended. But the Edwin Edwards, David Duke race for governor of Louisiana, where Edwin Edwards' campaign put out messaging at the end, vote for the crook, it's important. Called himself a crook. But the crook is better than the KKK Grand Wizard. Vote for the crook. I'll identify myself as my detractors identify me, but just remember, but even my detractors have to recognize I'm better than this option. And you're almost getting to something approximating that point. I'm not, again, comparing Biden to a KKK Grand Wizard, although
they've tried to do that.
It's certainly more apt than comparing Trump to one.
Well, Jake Tapper, who's going to, moderate the debate on Thursday, was, always comparing Trump to Hitler. That's real fair.
Robert Bloomingdale.
Hitler, okay, yeah, that's a good one too. I know, I heard that too. No, what President Trump should do is stick to the issues when he gives his opening remarks. Say, this is what my administration's going to do. We're going to do A, B, C, D, E, and then point to Biden and say, unlike him, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And go from there. That's what I think. What do you think?
All right, Robert. Thanks for the call. Carolyn Moments.
Hi. Good morning, Dan and Amy.
I've called my representatives, Robin Kelly and Tammy Duckworth, and I let them know that as a conservative, I've decided to take a more liberal stance on crime, and it's time to put a felon in the White House. Go Trump.
Thanks for the call. Break that glass ceiling, right, Carol?
Remember when Hillary had to cancel her whole glass ceiling ballroom that she rented out?
Oh, yes.
In 2016, never conceded.
That's the convicted. Yeah, exactly. Let's be Big Ten. It's time. It's long past time. We also got some telegraphing on what Biden may say on the border, and so Trump can prepare accordingly. Senator Pocahontas, you may also know her as Senator Sacagawea. She was on with Martha Raddatz on This Week, and the border.
She embarrassed herself.
The border, it's all Trump's fault. What's happening there?
I know he wanted that immigration bill to pass, that bipartisan, but there have been more than 6.9 million apprehensions at the southern border thus far in Biden's term. There were just over 2 million in Donald Trump's entire term. What did the president do wrong?
No, this isn't about what the president did wrong. Remember, on the very first day that he was sworn into office, President Biden asked Congress both for the resources and for comprehensive immigration reform. The Republicans blocked it.
Donald Trump didn't have that either, Senator. He didn't have that either, and there were 2 million during his entire term.
Until last fall, the president tries to deal with the problem that is presented to him. He can't deal with it if Congress and the Republicans continue to block him. And so the president is using the tools available to him, both to create border security, but he doesn't have the resources because the Republicans are blocking access.
But he is president. Understood. I do think you've made your point. But poll after poll, as Matt Rivers just pointed out, say that this is a very weak poll number for President Biden. Trump surpasses him by 17 points in trust and working the border.
I understand that. And I understand that the president is doing what he can with the resources available to him.
Somebody tweeted out, this entire presidency is like being tied to a chair and watching a toddler play with a loaded pistol.
It's vivid. Not necessarily.
I mean, there's video too. Like, we don't have video. Day one, Biden signs executive orders to reverse President Trump's immigration policies. Sitting there in the Oval Office with a mask on, really tight.
Right.
Sign it because, COVID might pop up anywhere.
Didn't even need Obama's phone. He just needed the pen.
Yeah.
Judy in Lamont, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I was just thinking that, I don't know you can say it, but, you're a liar, first of all, and you've got the most corrupt administration that we've ever seen. But I would take better at being bad over your record of the last 4 years of Build Back Better any day of the week.
Well, it's great alliteration, too. I like it. Thanks for the call, Judy. Ray and Lombard.
Dan, thanks a lot. Just that voice and that image of Martha Raddatz, it stopped 3 clocks in my house just now.
I tell you, I got to tell you.
Well, she's friends with the Obamas, too. She went to college with him, and she was at their wedding. And I haven't seen pushback in a while, so we'll take any win we can get.
That's not a win. Thanks for the call. This is you have to understand. They have to pretend. They have to pretend to do things to give themselves this patina of credibility. So they can point to something and say, look, we hold both sides accountable. We ask the tough questions both sides. It can't be completely on the nose. Okay. I mean, so this is just part of the charade. And exactly, I mean, a close runner-up to best Bouvier Sisters impersonators, a close runner-up to Carol Marin and Marian Ahern is Martha Raddatz and Elizabeth Warren. Don't you think?
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work
work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss? Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you?
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with the mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll discuss the videotape that has now been made public by 60 Minutes that provides yet more evidence that the Saudis were intimately involved in the 9/11 attacks. And why did it take so long for this video to surface? We'll start there with Heritage Foundation Steve Bucci at 7:07.
But first, let's stop by the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Ed Burke is to be sentenced today. A teen charged in the killing of a 7-year-old boy on the West Side will remain in custody. 1 killed, 2 wounded in a Little Village shooting. And the Buckingham Fountain is back on after being vandalized. Big-time 5-star recruit has signed with the Fighting Illini. Cubs fall to the Giants. White Sox get crushed by the Tigers. WIND, Chicago News Time, 7.
It's back to court for Trump lawyers. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. For the second of 3 days of hearings in Florida, as the former president tries to get a federal judge to dismiss the classified documents case, while he gets ready for the CNN presidential debate Thursday. His daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, tells Fox...
He is not nervous. He knows that whenever he talks about his vision for the future of America, it will resonate with the people of this country.
President Biden not even here at the White House this week. He's been hunkered down with aides at Camp David, the presidential retreat in Maryland, in the Maryland mountains, to prepare for that CNN presidential debate. On Friday, the president will hold a rally in North Carolina. Meanwhile, the White House facing some questions about the promotion of a new press aide, someone named Tyler Cherry, who's handling the president's climate agenda. According to our colleagues at Fox Digital, Cherry once tweeted that police are, quote, the direct evolution of slave patrols and lynch mobs. He wrote on X, apologizing, past social media posts from when I was younger do not reflect my current views.
As Fox's David Spund, Israel's defense ministers come to the U.S. for talks on the war in Gaza, and his fears grow that Hezbollah attacks from Lebanon could lead to a war there as well. Russia's been hit by another terror attack targeting houses of worship, at least 19 people killed.
The shootings took place in Russia's southern Republic of Dagestan. 6 gunmen were killed by security forces, according to the area's governor. It's just 3 months since an attack on a concert hall in Moscow left 145 people dead. ISIS claimed responsibility, but authorities accused Ukraine and the West of involvement.
As Fox's Jonathan Savage, there's flooding in several states, Minnesota to Iowa to South Dakota, where 1 person was killed. 2 people are dead in wildfires that have scorched New Mexico, destroying hundreds of homes and businesses. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham tells CBS Face the Nation.
It's been really tough on New Mexicans, and I'm grateful to every first responder.
America's listening to Fox News.
66 degrees. 7:02 is our time. On AM 560, The Answer, good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Person of interest is in custody, all following the deadly shooting of a retired Chicago police officer last week in West Garfield Park. Larry Newman was shot and killed while working in his yard. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling marched with community members on Sunday.
You cannot call yourself a man because you told a gun. You cannot call yourself a man because you robbed someone. That doesn't make you a great human being. What it makes you is a criminal. It makes you an armed robber. You shoot someone, it makes you a murderer.
Multiple reports say a 16-year-old boy turned himself into Chicago police yesterday. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. A federal jury found Burke guilty last December of racketeering, bribery, and extortion charges. A teen charged in the killing of a 7-year-old boy last week in Chicago on the west side will remain in custody. Rayshawn Comer was charged as an adult. The 16-year-old suspect was arrested last Thursday. Over the weekend, a judge ordered him detained in juvenile custody until the case is heard. One person is dead, 2 others wounded following a shooting in the Little Village neighborhood. 2 other shooting victims took themselves to the hospital. 1 remains in critical condition. Indiana Treasurer Daniel Elliott this morning has placed the asset management firm BlackRock on a state watch list. Elliott accuses BlackRock of making illegal environmental, social, or governance commitments. Stanley Cup finally makes its way to the ice tonight. Panthers and Oilers battle in Game 7. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2, and the White Sox lost to the Tigers 11-2. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains today's environmentalist.
The environmentalist movement is overwhelmingly composed of people who want to destroy civilization as we know it. Whether they want to because they think that that's how it will be saved, or whether they just have a loathing of the freedom you have if you have a car.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Sean Thompson here. You know when you're at the mall and you go to those directory signs, the one that says you are here? Well, imagine that directory is a map of your preparation for retirement. Would you know where you are? My friend Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group is offering you the opportunity to not only find yourself on that map, but also find the route toward a successful retirement. He calls it his retirement roadmap. You'll get an analysis of where you are right now, whether you're at risk if the market drops again, whether you're taking advantage of the latest tax changes, and much, much more. To get an idea where you stand on the road to retirement, call my friend Tom Fortino at the Alpha Wealth Group today at 630-934-1855. That's 630-934-1855. And ask for the retirement roadmap, or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And don't forget to listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560, The Answer at 9 a.m.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
All right, who's there for heroes or their families left behind when a service member or a first responder dies or is catastrophically injured in the line of duty? Who helps our country's homeless vets? I'll tell you who. It's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month. Just go to their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org, the letter T, number 2, letter T.org for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
For over 10 years, the award-winning KWCC Construction has been building a better future locally and throughout the Midwest, constructing with detailed planning and execution, completing projects safely, timely, and with transparency. If you've ever visited the Wilder Park Promenade along the Riverwalk in Aurora or driven past the recently revitalized Copley Hospital, you're looking at the quality construction of KWCC. Maybe you've seen the adaptive reuse of 80 South River Street in downtown Aurora, which now includes residences and businesses that have revitalized the area. No matter the project, KWCC Construction offers services from indoors to outdoors, conception to completion. In fact, KWCC was recognized as 2022's best project in landscape and urban development. Highly recommended. A general contracting company you can count on. That's KWCC. To request a proposal for your project, visit kwccinc.com. That's kwccinc.com.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Reagan I-88 westbound. You're jammed up with an earlier crash on the off-ramp to Cermak, 22nd right now. Tri-State accident, 2 right lanes blocked. Southbound side of 294 between 47th and the Hinsdale Oasis. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Lots of sun today with a high at 86. Partly cloudy, warm, a heavy thunderstorm moving in toward dawn tonight. That could bring some hail and damaging wind, low 74. Clouds and sun, breezy, hot, a heavy gusty thunderstorm for tomorrow, a high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Right now, clear and 66. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So 60 Minutes had the story. I mean, frankly, yet another story, as far as I can tell, of massive failure by the federal intel and law enforcement agencies. This is a videotape that apparently was turned over by British police to the FBI shortly after 9/11.
And how many years ago was that? Oh, my God.
And 23 years later, we're seeing it. It's a video of a reputed Saudi spy named al-Bayoumi casing D.C. and the sites that were the targets of the 9/11 attack. Here's a description of the tape that was aired on 60 Minutes and portions from it.
A voice on the video says in Arabic, "I am transmitting these scenes to you from the heart of the American capital, Washington." This video, unsealed in federal court this week and obtained by 60 Minutes, was recorded in the summer of 1999. The man behind the camera is Omar al-Bayoumi, who the FBI says was an operative of the Saudi intelligence service with close ties to 2 of the 9/11 hijackers.
Time is 6 p.m.
The video was filmed over several days. Bayoumi recorded entrances and exits of the Capitol, security posts, a model of the building, and nearby landmarks. In this portion of the video, Bayoumi points out the Washington Monument and says, "I will get over there and report to you in detail what is there." He also notes the airport is not far away.
And there's references in there to the plan, which are taken up by former, retired FBI agents that 60 Minutes talked to, Richard Lambert and Ken Williams. The plan, and what that means, clearly means that he was casing these places. I mean, I shouldn't say clearly, but probably means casing these places for the Saudi-backed al-Qaeda operation to attack America. That's what Richard Lambert thinks. He's now a consultant to the families of 9/11 victims that are suing the Saudi government.
Well, it is another very large brick in a massive wall of evidence that at this point indicates the Saudi government was complicit in the 9/11 attacks.
Mm-hmm. So why did it take so long? Retired FBI agent Ken Williams.
Did somebody really mess this up? This seems like a really big thing to just being made public.
If that was missed, then shame on us for missing it. If it wasn't missed, then I would have to ask the question, what was done with it?
Yeah, those are good questions.
Yeah, really, we want to know.
I mean, I'm not putting this on Ken Williams necessarily, but maybe Christopher Wray can appear before another House or Senate committee and tell us that it's an ongoing investigation. He's not allowed to talk about it. For more on this and other geopolitical matters, please be joined by Stephen Bucci for our weekly conversation. Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now a visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, it's if we missed it, shame on us, and if we didn't, then there's some questions that need to be asked. That's sort of a statement of the obvious.
Well, to be frank, while this is the first time I've seen that particular video, it was been pretty clear from the get-go that there were members of the Saudi government and even some of the royal family, which when you say that with the Saudis is like there's hundreds of them. So it's not like, that's a 4-person group or something like that. That there were members of even the royal family that supported Al-Qaeda, who frankly support the radical elements within Saudi Arabia, even against their own, cousins and brothers and everybody else in power. There has not been any evidence that I have seen, including this, that, the king and the crown prince and the people in charge of the Saudi government were a part of this conspiracy.
Well,
obviously, that's what the families are trying to prove.
Well, I mean, but this guy's a Saudi spy. He's with Saudi
there are people who are on the payroll of the Saudi government, including obviously this spy who was doing this. But there are people all over the Saudi government who have radical views.
Yeah,
but are not. Those views go beyond supporting their government. They would like to see the royal family thrown out.
Well,
they don't think they're good people.
I understand, but I mean, from the Western legal tradition, the fact that there's some Wahhabist element in the Saudi government, but doesn't necessarily include MBS or something like this, that doesn't absolve the Saudi government. In fact, it confirms their liability. I mean, if you act on behalf of a sovereign in a way that runs afoul of the law or international law, then your government is still responsible, just as we have when, say, police officers run afoul of the law in this country.
I think you're taking it a step too far. If we have people that, we had spies within our government in the FBI, Mr. Hansen, the guy at the CIA.
Yeah.
They did terrible things, and people died for what they did. They weren't following the orders of the government. They were operating on their own. I don't know, and frankly, no offense to the FBI retired guys who 60 Minutes interviewed, the fact that this guy was in America under, working for the Saudi government on one hand, but doing this video, there's no evidence that this video went to his bosses in the Saudi intelligence service. It could have been sent to Al-Qaeda.
Well, I mean, we don't know, but I mean, maybe the British could tell us, since apparently the British turned it over to the FBI. But I mean, part of this too. The other piece of this is, again, just massive intel failures in advance. The lack of disclosure. This video should have come out whenever they had it, in their possession, just because you need to bring America along in understanding what was happening. I mean, you may be very familiar with the evidence, and I may be to a lesser extent, but I mean, a lot of the American people aren't, and they wouldn't even we wouldn't even be talking about it if it wasn't for the 9/11 families that are pursuing it, and good for them, and putting pressure on the political class in D.C. that's just want to sweep this away so we don't make anything uncomfortable for MBS and the royal family. I mean, it's just the failure to disclose, the failure to do your job, and then the failure to disclose your failures. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we should have sussed out this whole thing, the whole conspiracy leading up to 9/11 for sure. We missed it. We missed it tremendously. There were pieces of it here, pieces of it there. Nobody was talking to each other. That's a failure. I'm not arguing with you there at all, nor am I arguing that we should just say, this is not a big deal. Why are these people even worried about this? They should continue the investigation. I'm just saying the evidence that I have seen, including that video and listening to those FBI guys, I don't draw the same conclusions today just with that evidence that they have drawn or that you're drawing right now. I don't think that necessarily means the Saudi government is liable for what some of its actors were doing, frankly, on the side. They weren't doing that I have seen under the orders of the government. If it turns out, as we continue to investigate, that it was under the orders of the government, then that's a different story. Then we have to look a little deeper and take some other actions. That has not been proven yet to any degree in my mind, but we need to keep investigating.
What about, did Saudi Arabia finance the attack?
The government of Saudi Arabia, no. Individuals who may have been in the Saudi government, who have their own funds, clearly, yes, there were. But, not the people in charge. I don't think there has been adequate evidence yet to show that this was a governmental policy to do this to us at all. Frankly, the Saudi government is as worried about Al-Qaeda as we were at the time. And maybe we should have been more worried because we kind of missed them doing the thing.
But not worried enough to root out elements in its government that are sympathetic, if not collaborating with Al-Qaeda.
They failed to do that, clearly.
I wanted to get to something else. 23 of the 32 NATO member countries are now on track to spend at least 2% of their GDP on national defense. That's up from just 6 of 32 in 2018. So from the Trump presidency to now, we've seen a almost fourfold increase in NATO members living up to their NATO commitments. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it's very interesting. One, because Trump was the one who got that trend started when supposedly, he was going to destroy the alliance by demanding that these folks do what they had agreed to do. And the other part is because the Europeans realize that Vladimir Putin is a threat, and if they don't do get their defense houses in order, that they might be the next target, or at least part of it. So one part was positive and good, the actions that Trump took ahead of all that, but the rest of the motivation, unfortunately, has been of the negative variety, because now they're scared, and instead of having Trump saying, look, I'm not going to just do this out of the goodness of my heart because we're the Americans and we got big pockets. Instead, the problem is you got Joe Biden who's saying, well, we're going to help with Ukraine, but, maybe not today, and tomorrow we'll do some more, but the day after that, I'm still not sure if I might change my mind. That weakness and that back and forth, frankly, is far more motivating for these guys to do their job, because they're not sure America's going to come through. At least with President Trump, he told them what he would do and what he wouldn't do and under what circumstances. That's a better way to be an alliance partner than leaving our allies scratching their head and wondering whether we're going to show up or not.
I wanted to get your reaction to something else. Now, this is a couple of weeks old, but I don't think we had the chance to talk to you about it yet. And if we did, and I'm misremembering, then that's on me. But it bears revisiting anyway, because I don't want this thing to get memory hole the way that so much news does because of the nature of our news cycle these days. And I'm talking about the Nancy Pelosi tape that that came out a couple of weeks ago from her vehicle. Taken by her daughter, or at least made public by her daughter, I should say, the documentarian Alexandra Pelosi, on January 6th, and her conversation, Nancy Pelosi's conversation with her chief of staff. Take a listen.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them. Just prepare for more.
I take responsibility for not having them. Trump offered the National Guard. We understand. And apparently it was rejected or it wasn't responded to. We've got all of these former DOD officials, acting defense secretaries and so forth, Joint Chiefs of Staff. Curious decision-making leading up to it. We've heard from Capitol Police Chief at the time, Stephen Sund, about how unusual the briefings or lack of briefings were leading up to January 6th, given the threat assessments and so forth. The Sergeant at Arms, the conversation McConnell was having with his Sergeant of Arms, Pelosi was having with hers. We know very little about this, despite that Star Chamber. Well, probably, of course, because that Star Chamber they set up. But the January 6th reckoning, it may come in part from the Supreme Court when they rule on 1512. But what Pelosi had to say, and what we still don't know about January 6th, and the reason we don't know it is because of Christopher Wray's FBI, and to a lesser extent the other intel agencies. How do you react to that video and January 6th, now 3 years removed?
Well, again, I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but I'm not surprised by that. I'm surprised that she said it out loud, even though it was in a private, relatively private conversation. But I know how that system is supposed to work in D.C. Who has authority to do what, and to put all the blame on President Trump. And say he should have done this and he should have done that, when the Dems did actually not just nothing, they took actions that hindered the use of the National Guard. The Sergeant at Arms of the House, who works directly for the Speaker, that is that person's boss. They're the only person in the building that can order the Sergeant at Arms of the House around would have been Mrs. Pelosi, and she didn't. She did not act. She just stood there, and in some cases, there's evidence where she told people to stand down. We're not doing that. That's on her. But then she had the gall to sit there during those hearings and make it sound like this was all on President Trump. That was such a setup, and because there were no adherents for President Trump's side of the argument on the committee, nobody could bring up any witnesses. No one could ask the questions that would have brought this out. That was a total setup, and this should cause Nancy Pelosi to have some accountability. But I'm not holding my breath. I don't know about you.
Well, McConnell too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These guys have the responsibility. Interestingly, the Speaker has a bigger role in the security of the Capitol building than the Senate Majority Leader. It's really on the Speaker of the House. That's just the way it's set up. That wasn't because of Nancy Pelosi. That's the system that's there. And she didn't do anything. McConnell should have been in her face saying, hey, we got to do something. But the decision is really on her.
I mean, I go back to Stephen Sun's public testimony, interview with Tucker Carlson. You know, the interesting thing about the detail that Stephen Sun has provided, the former Capitol Police Chief, who was Capitol Chief on January 6th of 2021, the detail he's provided hasn't been disputed. It's just been ignored. But nobody's disputed what Sun has said. Nobody that he names in terms of the chains of commands, as well as the conversations and the briefings. What he his description has gone completely unchallenged, just ignored, and that to me is very telling.
Well, it's when the majority of the press, the legacy press, is already on board with the cover up and the railroading. Of course, they're not going to question it. You know, if it's uncomfortable, they ignore it.
Right.
You know, or come up with a crazy explanation. In this case, they do the ignoring it track, and it's a shame. The American people are not served. The political system loses even more credibility. It's just a totally wrong way for this to have gone down.
Yeah, I hope.
Not holding my breath.
Well, I know. But on Thursday night there's an opportunity, and I hope when Trump is inevitably called the leader of an insurrection by Biden or words to that effect, he says, you know what? Don't take my word for it, America. Go watch Stephen Sun, Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun's interview with Tucker Carlson, his testimony before House committees. Because unless President Biden, you would like to challenge Stephen Sun's account. Well, if you'd like to impugn his reputation, the former Capitol Police Chief, that's the way I would do it too. Start to get start to broaden people's minds and point them in a direction of information they probably haven't accessed. You know?
Yeah, it would be the way to do it. But I'll bet if that comes up, if he says it that way, one of those moderators will jump in and rescue Biden before he can screw up the answer.
Well, they're going to need to in that event. Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official, now visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen Bucci, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with the mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code Chicago.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only 2 good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551. 1551.
Our communities deserve to have their tax dollars spent efficiently. All over Chicagoland, there is an increased need for vital projects like wetland improvements, enhancing water quality, or stormwater mitigation to protect homes against devastating floods. Too often, public officials find themselves at the mercy of outside advisors when planning, budgeting, and building these projects. And let's face it, they rarely meet deadlines or budgets, leaving our communities vulnerable. There's a better way forward. Control Point Engineering. At Control Point Engineering, we're more than just civil engineers. We're champions of quality and efficiency with over 40 years of hands-on experience. Teaming up with Earthworks Land Development, we're breaking down barriers and streamlining processes. Say goodbye to disjointed partnerships and hello to seamless collaboration. From conceptualization to construction, Control Point Engineering delivers everything you need in one unified package, saving you time and money. Visit ControlPointLLC.com today to learn about our successful projects all across Chicagoland. Again, that's ControlPointLLC.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The making of an American radical at 7:37.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
70 degrees, and we have clear skies this morning. On AM 560, The Answer, we're headed toward a high in the mid-80s for later on today. And topping our news, deadly flooding in Iowa. Governor there, Kim Reynolds, is addressing the media after disaster declarations for at least 20 counties.
If you do get an evacuation order, it's serious. That means that you need to evacuate. We have homeowners that think that they can stand it out and that they'll be fine, and then we're bringing additional resources into the situation for them to get in there and rescue the families.
It comes on the heels of news this morning that a huge train bridge has collapsed in Sioux City, Iowa, during flooding. That has led to those evacuations. Heavy rain has also caused flooding in South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota. Federal prosecutors are recommending criminal charges against Boeing for violating a 2021 settlement related to 2 fatal crashes. President Biden and former President Donald Trump are preparing their first debate set for this coming week here in Atlanta. Biden has been prepping with advisors at Camp David. Meantime, Donald Trump rallied over the weekend in Philadelphia. Car dealerships across the North American continent continue to wrestle with major disruptions that began last week. CDK Global, a company that provides software for thousands of auto dealers and repair shops in the U.S. and Canada, was hit with the back-to-back cyber attacks. For prospective car buyers, it will mean seeing orders written up by hand in paper and ink. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere died Sunday night. His family announced Deere represented the county's 2nd district. No details given. The family says they will share more in the coming days. A person of interest is in custody following the shooting of a retired police officer last week in the West Garfield Park neighborhood. Larry Newman was shot and killed in the 4300 block of West Monroe. On Sunday, Police Superintendent Larry Snelling marched with members of the community.
You cannot call yourself a man because you tote a gun. You cannot call yourself a man because you robbed someone. That doesn't make you a great human being. What it makes you is a criminal. It makes you an armed robber. You shoot someone, it makes you a murderer.
Police sources confirmed there were at least 36 shot over the weekend, 8 fatally in the city. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. Federal jury found Burke guilty last December of racketeering, bribery, and extortion. Prosecutors are asking for 10 years. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2, while the White Sox lost to the Tigers 11-2. Scotty Scheffler celebrating win number 6 on the season, winning the PGA's Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 6:30 right here on AM 560, The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
This is Hugh Hewitt for Townhall.com. Hellscape. That is what awaits China's People's Liberation Army Navy if it is ordered to invade Taiwan by Xi Jinping. We know this because U.S. Navy Admiral Samuel Paparo, who heads up PACOM, told us this through the Washington Post's Josh Rogan, and I quote the Admiral, "I want to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape using a number of classified capabilities," Paparo told Rogan, "so that I can make the planned lives utterly miserable for a month, which buys me time for the rest of everything," he continued. Classified capabilities mean we can't know the details, or even the outline of the details. But Paparo did add, "I can't tell you what's in the plan to stop the Chinese invasion, but it's real and it's deliverable." The more that senior military figures like Paparo and figures in the intel and tech community spell out the scenarios for the public through responsible outlets, the better off every American is. More from the senior brass, please, and soon.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I work for the New York City Fire Department. I've been using Balance of Nature for 8 years, I believe. It's been phenomenal. And I just got retired after 33 years. So I work long hours, a lot of overtime. I teach at the Fire Academy. I run with mornings. I work out all the time. And your product has been so successful for me in my regiment. I have nothing but high praise for you guys.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:40. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Eden's right now 25. Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at 55 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Eichen 55. 390. To the old post office. Stevenson inbound accident left shoulder. It's inbound on the Stevenson between Harlem Avenue and Cicero. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny, high 86. Heavy thunderstorms late in the evening, more towards dawn with a low of 74, and storms continue into tomorrow with a high near 90. Currently mostly sunny and 70. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The Making of an American Radical. A good piece by Gillian K. Melchior in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. You want to understand how what you see on college campuses comes to be, how these young people get radicalized to do things like, I don't know, run on the green at the Travelers Championship with smoke bombs and interrupt Scotty Scheffler putting.
Yeah, that was real effective. And then chants broke out, USA.
The Scotty Scheffler should have Rick Monday'd one of those Extinction Rebellion protesters. He missed an opportunity there.
Oh, he didn't want to get arrested again.
Yeah, right. Probably a little bit
Too fresh. Yeah,
a shell shock from Louisville.
Wasn't me. I didn't do it.
The Making of an American Radical. This piece is about sort of the face of Palestine Action U.S. Calla Walsh, 20 years old. Palestine Action U.S., among other things, has a underground manual to coach lawbreakers. The manual describes how to create a cell and conduct recon on a target, what to wear while committing acts of sabotage, how to plan a getaway, and, quote, destroy all evidence, unquote. Among other actions, the guide suggests participants can break in, block their pipes with concrete or spray paint slogans. Smashing stuff can also be very quick to do. With an efficient sledgehammer in your hand, you can cause quite a bit of damage. These are quotes. The guide urges supporters to, quote, dream up crazy ideas, unquote, and, quote, remember that your action is to disrupt, damage, or destroy your target.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
We saw the Buckingham Fountain.
Oh, yeah. And did anybody care to report on that? I had family in town. People wanted to go see it, and it was closed because they painted the water in the fountain red. So then all you environmentalists, they had to drain tens of thousands of gallons of water, refill it up, but there was spray marks, death to Israel. Nobody reported out. When I heard the story at first, Dan, I thought it was some kids. And then only to find out later on that it was pro-Palestinian group.
Of course it was. Palestine Action is decentralized in structure, Melchior reports on this organization and this young woman, Calla Walsh. Mainly operates anonymously, but the U.S. network has a figurehead, Calla Walsh. Self-described organizer with Palestine Action U.S., who cut her teeth campaigning for Ed Markey for Senate in Massachusetts. She grew up in middle-class Cambridge. She told NPR that the climate crisis pushed her into politics. It felt so huge that I was simply powerless. I wanted to feel like I was taking real action that would challenge the systems that had created the climate crisis.
Oh, God.
When she was 15, she was sort of our Greta Thunberg. When she was 15, she helped organize a 2019 climate strike at Boston City Hall. Then pandemic forced her activism online, where she did social media, basically, for the Markey campaign. But then she soured at Ed Markey over Israel. And so she careened from the climate crisis, one moral panic to the next, as you see them do. Careened from that to the alleged Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. She tweets that she tweeted that she left the Democrat Socialists of America back in 2021 because she wanted to focus on studying revolutionary Cuba, which totally changed my worldview, she said. Became more of a Castroista.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Notice the progression. Try electoral politics. That's unsatisfying because there are, politicians positioning, compromising, because she's an ideologue and she wants to destroy those things with which she disagrees. And notice how it escalates from one experience to the other. It's really instructive because it's obviously hardly only Calla Walsh. She was quick to support the Hamas attack on October 7th. Of course she was. Defending their homeland from illegal occupation and genocide isn't ugly Palestinian retaliation. Peremptory strike is not retaliation. No, it's not. It was a peremptory strike. Living in the U.S., this is less than a week after the October 7th terrorist attack by Hamas. Living in the U.S., we have an obligation to take direct action against murderous companies in Israel. She then spray painted a building and poured red paint on a public sidewalk. She faces.
Hope a flag wasn't down there.
She faces vandalism charges.
Right.
Felony vandalism charges. Pled not guilty.
Of course.
She spoke about the charges in a November 17th interview with Real News Network, which is radical left outlet. She said that in jail, quote, "What I was thinking was that I would be ready to do it again and again and again until we shut these factories down." Israeli businesses. She urged others to take action right now against the company she was targeting or any other genocide profiteer and shut it down. It's interesting she pleaded not guilty while admitting guilt in an interview to Real News Network, but she is only 20 years old, and her mind is rotted with this radicalization.
Counselor tell her not to do that.
Melchior writes that her radicalization appears to be continuing. If you still say the answer is to email Congress, do police-permitted parades, repeat the same lib tactics for years to no avail, you are woefully misunderstanding the nature of our enemy and lying to the people about what resistance means in order to exempt yourselves from it. I don't know how many more Gaza Holocausts Westerners have to witness before leaving personal comforts behind and stepping into the militant resistance the entire world demands of us. Palestine Action U.S., for which Ms. Walsh is the face girl, routinely posts footage of vandalized buildings, smashed windows, and the like. On June 2nd Telegram post, it shared a description of how, quote, an incendiary device was placed below UC Berkeley police vehicle with enough fuel in it to torch the entire car if it was successfully placed. The post included a photo of a burned car and the slogans "Knife to the Throat of Zionism," "Death to America, KKKA," "Glory to the Martyrs." Most recently, on Wednesday, Palestine Action U.S. posted a new call to stop the debate, the presidential debate in Atlanta. There's no candidate against the genocide in Palestine. There can be no election. Above all else, escalate. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. And I know what you're thinking. Some of you probably, well, it's a misguided young woman, led down this radical path, and she doesn't really represent the Democrat Socialist Party. In fact, she repudiated it as not being radical enough. And so it's a fringe element, and it's nothing to be concerned about. So they smoke bomb the Travelers Championship and glue themselves to the floors at NBA games and throw soup
runways in Germany.
Throw soup on paintings at the Louvre and so forth. But, they represent a fringe element. It's not a big deal. Okay. I think you're vastly underestimating how culture is moved by small, committed groups of people and by extension, politics.
Because she's not going to stop, ever.
So escalate. Stop the election, escalate. Some other people are taking her cue, reading from the same manual, apparently. Jewish mom and her husband attacked and beaten at a Brooklyn elementary school graduation by an Arabic-speaking family who taunted them with shouts of "Free Palestine, Gaza is ours," and "Death to Israel." The fifth grade graduation was the theme of the fifth grade graduation in New York, where this Jewish couple was attacked and beaten for being Jewish, apparently. The theme was "All you need is love."
Oh, they really lived by those standards.
Well, and by the way, you mentioned this, but the response to those Extinction Rebellion loons at the Travelers Championship in Connecticut over the weekend, the response from the crowd is telling. I don't even think they probably understood how they reflexively landed on the right spot, but the response.
USA! 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 USA!
That response is important because it's not. It was a recognition that what those climate loons were doing, what Miss Walsh is doing, this is not about saving the planet, and this is not about promoting Zionism. I should say from their perspective about constructive critiques of the government of Israel. It's not even about Israel. As our friend Carol Markowitz made the point at the New York Post and on our show the other week, they hate America.
Right.
This is about attacking America and the West more generally, but specifically America.
I mean, the group that's going to be protesting at the DNC, they were practicing not only chanting death to Israel, but also death to America.
Yeah, at the Teamsters Hall.
Right, the Teamsters Hall. Good.
Yeah.
And in Los Angeles, a group of pro-Palestinians surrounded a L.A. synagogue. Didn't want people to go in to worship.
Lee and Hammond, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, guys, you know, this is generational. These kids would never be able to get away with any of the stuff they get away with if it wasn't for their 40 and 50-year-old compatriots in government and the media. This has been going on for decades now, and not only in this country, but it's a move toward. I don't even think it's communism. I think they're Jacobins. I think they just hate Western culture and society and just want to tear it all down.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Lee. You're on the mark. The only question is on which network Calla Walsh will get a show or which university will hire her. I mean, Northwestern, Bernadine Dorn. She seems to be following in the footsteps. It reminded me of this piece from now 6 years ago that was over at Quillette.com that I remember us talking about, Sad Radicals. It was a piece by Connor Barnes, who is a deprogrammed radical, if you will. So, of course, it can happen. And, yes, I recognize that young people can grow out of being asshats. I get that. But they can also go on to spend a career as an asshat and retire with taxpayer-funded pensions, 7-figure taxpayer-funded pensions like Bill Ayers has. Go a lot of different directions. And by the way, they can create a lot of damage, leave a lot of damage in their wake. The way he describes Connor Barnes did, becoming this radical left activist, the way that Calla Walsh is. As a radical activist, much of my time was devoted to proselytizing. Non-anarchists were like pagans to be converted through zines and wheat-plastered posters rather than by Bible and baptism. When non-radicals listened to my assertions that Nazis deserved death, that all life had devolved into a spectacle, and that monogamy was a capitalist social construct, they were probably bewildered instead of enticed. He references another radical whose essentially disposition he adopted. When I was part of groups like this, everyone was on exactly the same page about a suspiciously large range of issues. When my friends and I did have theoretical disagreements, they tended towards the purely strategic or to the philosophical minutia. Are cops human? If we pay attention to the few white nationalists in our town, will that stir them up? Is polyamory queer or privileged? Those are great debates. Deep and sincere engagement with opposing points of view is out of the question. Radicalism is like a clan too suspicious of outsiders to abandon cousin marriage and incestuous offspring. Radicalism's intellectual offspring accumulate genetic load. Narrow theories must perform increasingly convoluted explanations of the world. Yeah. For example, the X account End Wokeness tweeted out over the weekend a Greta Thunberg tweet, since that's how Calla Walsh got her start too.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg tweet from 6 years ago. A top climate scientist is warning that climate change will wipe out all of humanity unless we stop using fossil fuels over the next 5 years. Well, we made it.
Hey, congratulations. Earth, you did it.
Will that stop? Will that stop? And will that stop
they
that
just keep-
increasingly narrow theory that Greta Thunberg and those like her?
And they keep pushing the goalposts back.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to be 2035, and it'll be 2054.
But this simple point that Connor Barnes makes in his piece, deep and sincere engagement with opposing points of view is out of the question. You say, well, that's a radical position, that's an intemperate position, and so on and so forth. I know, but it's the position of the quote unquote mainstream Democrat Socialist Party and their press corps, isn't it? They won't entertain opposing viewpoints, whereas we welcome them. In fact, we proactively search them out on this show, as do other conservative talk shows and conservative news outlets, and they won't entertain it. What does that tell you? It tells you they're not so far from where Connor Barnes was or where Kalia Walsh is today. Sarah in Glenview.
Yeah, hi. There's some theme here that has to be reiterated. Greta Thunberg and Ms. Walsh, they seamlessly switch gears from woke climate change to woke jihadi. And you have to ask, what's the connection here? It's hard. It's a head scratcher. They just cannot resist the latest fashion accessory, the keffiyeh.
Well, yes, that's right, Sarah. But I mean, it's explained. We a surprisingly little disagreement over a wide range of issues. Because what's the fundamental point? It's the point that Lee from Hammond made. They're Jacobins that want to destroy the West, starting with America. This is why they tear down the monuments, and they get politicians to go right along with it, don't they? Vandalize things that represent the peaceful pluralist traditions of the West, the Judeo-Christian values of the West, particularly America. There is a unifying theme. It's they hate Western civilization, and they aim to undo it.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Brandon Tatum weekdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by Charlie Kirk at 7. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
AM 560. The Answer.
Dan, what was Biden thinking by hiring Tyler Cherry as the White House Associate Communications Director?
He's thinking Rachel Levine needs a new friend now that Sam Britton is gone.
Oh, my God.
Amber Duke from the Spectator at 8:08.
Today, mostly sunny, a high of 86 degrees, less humidity. It's now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's been 2 years. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It was on this day, 2022, when the Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade with a new abortion ruling, undoing a woman's federal right, allowing states to ban abortions. And President Biden's campaign has a new ad just out attacking Republicans on women's rights.
Roe is just the beginning. They're going to try to ban the right to choose nationwide. They're coming for IVF and birth control next.
Former President Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara, Republican National Committee co-chair, tells Fox.
This is just about the only thing the Democrats think they can run on this election cycle. I think Donald Trump will have a great response for it.
The former president maintains abortion should be up to the states to decide, and that'll likely be a topic Thursday in the CNN presidential debate. President Biden's prepping now at Camp David. Boeing could soon land in federal court.
U.S. prosecutors have reportedly made the recommendation to senior Department of Justice officials for criminal charges. That, according to Reuters, which says the recommendation comes after officials in May said Boeing violated a settlement related to two 737 MAX jet fatal crashes that killed hundreds.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Those crashes were overseas in 2018 and 19. A terror attack in Russia has left 19 people dead, including a church pastor and police officers in the predominantly Muslim region of Dagestan. The Islamic militant attackers were killed and returned fire. In the war against Ukraine, Russia's vowing to retaliate to a missile strike.
The Kremlin says U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles were used to strike Crimea,
the Ukrainian peninsula illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. We're told 4 people were killed and over 150 injured. Although neither Ukraine nor the United States has commented, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says Washington bears responsibility.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A shark attack in Hawaii has killed a professional surfer. Tamayo Perry was a lifeguard. Also an actor. He was in TV shows and movies. America's listening to Fox News.
70 degrees, 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx was allegedly assaulted over the weekend. William Sweats of Flossmoor is charged with 2 felonies, aggravated assault with a motor vehicle and aggravated battery, and is back in court on Tuesday. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. Federal jury found Burke guilty last December. Prosecutors are asking for 10 years. A teen is charged in the killing of a 7-year-old boy last week on Chicago's west side. Rayshawn Comer will remain in custody, a judge ordering him detained in juvenile custody during that case. Chicago's Buckingham Fountain is back open after being vandalized over the weekend in an apparent protest against the ongoing war in Gaza. Over the weekend, residents near the site of the future Obama Presidential Center took their concerns about being priced out of their homes directly to the mayor.
The longer we take to pass this legislation, the more irreversible harm will happen to our friends, family, and neighbors.
For years, residents who live near the site where construction is underway for the center have raised concerns about rising housing costs. A hearing on stalled legislation protecting homeowners and renters is expected to be held next month. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2, while the White Sox were beaten by the Tigers 11-2. 8:03, it's time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Stuart Varney, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Group 1 Automotive, the Houston-based auto business with hundreds of dealers, says it's still impacted by the cyber attack at software provider CDK Global last week, though Group 1 says it immediately took measures to protect and isolate its systems from CDK's platform. Despite the outage, Group 1 says its U.S. dealers are continuing to do business using alternative processes. CDK told dealers it will take days, not weeks, to restore systems, though Group 1 says the timing remains unclear at this time. Eli Lilly shares are up 1%. The drug company is seeking approval from the FDA to expand its weight loss drug Zepbound to use it for sleep apnea. The Federal Reserve's stress tests of banks are this week. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jen Posolda, invested in you.
AM 560 News Time is 8:05. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630. or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Can peace of mind fit into just 3 fruits and 3 veggie supplements? Yes. We start by sourcing the best fruit and vegetable ingredients. We ensure that all our produce meets our rigorous standards in order to give you the highest quality product possible. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum-cooled process that removes the water using pressure. We then take great care in grinding them into a fine powder. These powdered ingredients are then mixed and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped right to your door so you can experience your own personal Balance of Nature success story.
I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has.
Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, since 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been committed to supporting our nation's first responders and veterans. They support America's heroes like U.S. Army Major Jonathan Turnbull. Now, Major Turnbull sustained devastating injuries at the hands of an ISIS suicide bomber. Tunnel to Towers gave him a specially adapted smart home designed for his needs. Join Tunnel to Towers. They're hoping all of us will donate $11 a month so this great work continues. Their website, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
8:08, a check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Right now, the Kennedy at 47 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 55, 390 into the old post office. You're jammed up outbound on the Ike between Cicero and 17th due to a much earlier accident. Dan Ryan's stop and go inbound between 47 and the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Lots of sun today with a high at 86. Partly cloudy, warm, a heavy thunderstorm moving in toward dawn tonight. That could bring some hail and damaging wind, low 74. Clouds and sun, breezy, hot, a heavy gusty thunderstorm for tomorrow, the high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
70 at O'Hare, 72 at Midway. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Stories like this continue to be sources of concern, and we've talked to Ken Cuccinelli at the Voter Integrity Project and others in terms of what the Trump campaign, in conjunction with the RNC, in conjunction with state parties, in conjunction with independent groups like Judicial Watch, litigating these issues are doing, but the concerns persist. Welfare offices, I should say, and other agencies in 49 states are providing voter registration forms to migrants without requiring proof of citizenship. So there's federal action to stop this distribution. We talked to Brian Stile about it, about what he is doing as a member of a relevant House committee. Every state but Arizona, which recently passed a law barring the practice on state but not federal forms. Interesting. State but not federal. Gives applicants for either welfare benefits, driver's licenses, or in some case mail-in ballots, voter registration forms without demanding proof of citizenship. This is some of what Cleta Mitchell, to bring this up again, was talking about in her memo back in February about the loopholes in the National Voter Registration Act, as well as the legislation governing overseas voting that is of concern, particularly when you have more than 12 million illegal border crossers, including gotaways, since fiscal year 2021. 241,000 apprehensions of illegal border crossers in just May alone. It's a real concern, and we're seeing some legal action, good. But in terms of the organizing, the manpower, what the VBM programs, vote by mail programs look like, what the ballot integrity program looks like as it's coming into focus, and we're coming into crunch time, it's still a little bit blurry to me, and thus a concern should be for all who are interested in free and fair elections that you can have confidence in. For more on this and other topics, we're pleased to be joined by Amber Duke, the Spectator's Washington editor. She's also the author of The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So, take that topic from whatever angle you want, but the RNC and the Trump campaign bears primary responsibility for the sort of response to what is going on by both Democrats and Democrats in government around the country.
That's right. And I think they're acutely aware of that. And they're also aware of the fact that they were not prepared for what was going to happen in 2020 in regards to the last-minute rule changes to the voting process in various swing states because of the pandemic, and also irregularities that popped up even after voting started. There was not a ground game in place to ensure that all of the reports that came in were being investigated, that there were lawyers properly trained available in order to assist people with these issues and to make sure that they were tackled early enough such that they weren't trying to retroactively months later adjudicate these claims. And so I talked to people at the RNC and people who work with the RNC for an article in the Spectator magazine out in their July edition. And what they told me is that they do have a program this time around filled with 100,000 volunteers and lawyers who are going to be available on Election Day. They have a hotline set up for people to report voting irregularities and potential fraud, and they are supposed to deploy with rapid response services. And in addition, they're also taking very seriously the mail voting program that the Democrats obviously did really well back in 2020 and 2022. They're encouraging Republicans not to wait until Election Day. They want them to bank their vote now, and have created an app called Vote Pro that allows people to register to vote, check their registration status, request a mail-in ballot, and then commit to vote in person on Election Day or via mail, which is extremely helpful when you're, of course, organizing grassroots campaign, because it helps you understand how many of your people have voted so far, kind of what the turnout's looking like, what the enthusiasm looks like, and maybe helps you figure out which areas you need to deploy more volunteers or more people to assist individuals in either registering to vote or actually getting to the polls, filling out a mail-in ballot, et cetera. So obviously time will tell if this is an effective program and if it's enough people, if they've put enough money into it. But I think it's at least heartening that they're doing something compared to 4 years ago when there was seemingly nothing.
And are they focusing mostly in the swing states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin?
That's my understanding. They actually just had an event for their voter integrity project in Pennsylvania. I believe it was just a couple of weeks ago. And they've had other ones in Nevada and other swing states. So this is something that, at least on a public front, it seems like they're taking very seriously. But again, with the recent leadership change over at the RNC, it's a lot of work and a lot of trust that voters have to put into them to recognize that they are not only dealing with trying to win an election and trying to win an election that could potentially be filled with irregularities again, but also having to basically rebuild the organization from the ground up.
Right. I mean, and again, I appreciate that there's a recognition and that you've got perhaps more seasoned pros in charge of the Trump campaign than you did last go around. and a little bit more focus on the fundamentals, the infrastructure building, the nuts and bolts of vote by mail and ballot integrity programs and personnel up front and litigation happening up front. But it still feels like a little bit like they're cramming for finals. And what I mean by that is, so I mentioned Brian Stile from Wisconsin and his House Administration Committee. That Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act requires states to receive proof of citizenship when anyone registers to vote by mail at a DMV or welfare agency in response to what these agencies are doing. I mean, that's a bullet point for a mail piece, but that's not going anywhere between now and November. And it sounds like, it seems like it's sort of throwing it out there that we have a plan or we have legislation that we filed and the Dems bottled it up. And that's all well and good for that purpose. But I mean, if you were going to make this central to part of your messaging and really central to trying to create a bit of a chilling effect by on all of those skullduggerous operatives on the other side, I mean, this should have been done a long time ago. And so I just worry that it's still really trying to bootstrap a program that I understand will not get to, because we started so far behind, we're not get to what the Democrats already have in place, but closes the gap enough such that the incremental difference is not dispositive of the outcome.
Yeah, and I think that's a totally fair criticism. And if I can, play devil's advocate a little bit and try to defend the RNC, not because I necessarily think that they're worth defending, at least not from previous leadership, but just to provide the other perspective, because the RNC was not allowed to really engage in ballot security activities until after 2018. There was a federal court consent decree that effectively limited their ability to challenge voters' qualification and target election fraud for about 3 decades. So that was one of the reasons, in addition to them obviously not fully understanding how hard the Democrats were going to go in 2020. They only had about 2 years since the lifting of that decree where they could even get engaged in these projects. And in the meantime, the Democrats had, of course, dozens, if not hundreds, of liberal advocacy groups that were dedicated to encouraging people to vote in whichever way possible and basically skirt the rules however they possibly could. Of course, they were obsessed with ballot harvesting, and Republicans just didn't have a similar kind of operation for their voters. So we're now looking at 6 years later. Let's see what they put together. But certainly the fact that the RNC had its leadership change in March means that there is a limited amount of time to even get something of this magnitude off the ground. I do know Michael Whatley, one of the new co-chairs. He was the North Carolina GOP chair before taking over the RNC, and was apparently very proud of their voter integrity program there. Ted Budd ended up winning his Senate race in 2022, which was one of the rare, really good wins for Republicans in the 2022 midterms, which was supposed to be a red wave. So I think there's reason for optimism, but yeah, the timeline, you can't change that, right? And so that's obviously going to be a thorn in their side and a reason for people to be very, very concerned about what's happening in November.
Have you studied what the Democrats are doing to get the vote out and to register more people?
Well, I do know that they are not going to have Zuck Bucks like they did in 2020, which is a good sign, right? But of course, I mean, the liberal and progressive advocacy groups run deep, and they're going to continue to do what they have been doing probably for every election for the past 30 to 40 years. So I think you have to anticipate that, if anything, their ground game has only gotten even more sophisticated.
I mean, how big of a threat do you think illegal immigrants voting is? I mean, is there any sort of handle on what the exposure level could be?
That I don't know, but I mean, anything with illegal aliens is hard to quantify because we have obviously the separation between people who were processed at the border versus gotaways, versus there's a third category, which is people we don't even know about. I mean, I've heard people say that they believe there could be as many as 40 million illegal aliens in the country right now, not just under Biden, but in total, which is obviously a ridiculously high amount. And if even 10% of them are registering to vote in Democratic localities that allow them to vote in, let's say, city or statewide elections, and then they somehow get the ability to get a federal ballot because there's no process for checking someone's immigration status when they go to register to vote, then that could be a serious problem. I mean, a lot of states and localities allow illegal aliens to get driver's licenses now. And, if you go to the DMV and you get a driver's license or you renew your license, they ask you to check the box to register to vote at the same time or update your voter registration. There's, again, no difference between whether or not you're a citizen or whether you're an illegal alien. I think it could be a serious problem, and there's never really been any attempt to quantify exactly how many could be voting because the idea of even them getting driver's licenses or registering to vote in local elections is relatively new. And I think if there's some smart, enterprising, conservative activists out there, that might be something they should be looking into.
Amber Duke is the Spectator's Washington editor. She's also the author of The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Let me ask you this. Are you not able to enjoy this summer as much as you want because of joint pain? Well, this is the best time for being outdoors, but not if your knees, shoulders, back, or hips are hurting. Hey, it's Amy Jacobson, and don't suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here from our good friends at QC Kinetics. Call them today. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. QC Kinetics advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. Walk, run, hike, play golf, move again pain-free. So stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. They're open on Saturdays, now with new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Choosing where to send your kids to school is one of the most important decisions you make as parents. Even as the school year has come to an end, you might be thinking about where to send your kids to school in the fall. You need to know that private school might be an option for you and your family thanks to our friends at Half Price Schools. At halfpriceschools.com, you'll find many different private schools from around Chicagoland offering a full year of tuition for half of the normal price. And you can take advantage of this great opportunity. It's simple. Find a private school near you, purchase the tuition voucher, and prepare to send your child off to school this fall. HalfPriceSchools.com has schools located across Chicagoland, including Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights, Ravenswood Christian in Chicago, St. Andrew's Lutheran in Park Ridge, St. Peter Lutheran in Schaumburg. So don't delay. Next school year will be here before you know it. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. Don't wait. Visit HalfPriceSchools.com today. That's HalfPriceSchools.com.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Can peace of mind fit into just 3 fruits and 3 veggie supplements? Yes. We start by sourcing the best fruit and vegetable ingredients. We ensure that all our produce meets our rigorous standards in order to give you the highest quality product possible. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum cold process that removes the water using pressure. We then take great care in grinding them into a fine powder. These powdered ingredients are then mixed and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped right to your door so you can experience your own personal Balance of Nature success story.
I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has.
Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so we were talking about, talking a little bit in the context of the making of a young radical in America, what you saw from those, not just young, those Extinction Rebellion loons at the Travelers Championship over the weekend in Connecticut. But I did want, since we're on the topic of golf, or we were, I did want to make sure people were aware of Club Pro Guy's summer golf camp for the kids.
Oh, he's got one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Club Pro Guy is just the best. But
I
here's
can't wait to hear this.
Here's a description if you want to go sign your young man or young woman up for Club Pro Guy's summer golf camp. Expectations, though. Control your expectations.
Okay, guys. Thanks for coming in. I just got out of a meeting with the parents of the kids who signed up for this summer's junior camp, where we went over the daily schedule, the drop-off and pickup procedures, as well as selected volunteers for daily snack duty. But much more importantly, I took this opportunity to let everyone know that their child was not special. Full stop.
Uh-oh.
I also reminded the group that we live on planet Earth, not some mythical fairy tale land. There's not a single kid signed up for this camp that has a prayer of playing golf in college, let alone becoming a club professional like me. So instead of getting delusional about your kids someday playing the game for a living, let's focus on things that are attainable, like growing up to dominate the sea flight at your buddy's member guest or competing for net club championships. Also, I told the parents that this camp was not about having fun.
Oh my God.
If you want your kid to have fun, take him to one of those trampoline parks or disable the porn blocker on his laptop. This camp is for young people who are serious about growing up to become elite net players. Our focus here will be a lot less about working the ball left or right and a lot more about working our index up and down. Our entire Wednesday afternoon session alone will be about learning what putts not to make.
Oh my gosh.
The goal here is to create trained net killers, not gigantic robotic. These kids are going to learn how to win charity scrambles with completely fraudulent scores and then walk up to the podium to collect first place shop credit and feel no shame. Zero. I told these parents, if you want your kid to have a technical golf swing, take him to Golf Tech and get him hooked up to all those goofy wires. But if you want them to someday have a trophy case full of net hardware and more shop credit than they could ever spend, or what I like to call credit, then I'll see you bright and early on June 10th. Okay? Thanks, guys.
So if you want Johnny or Sally to grow up to be an elite net player, Club Pro Guy camp is the camp for you. I've run into some of those elite net players. They're tough. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those elite net players that work the handicap, work the index. Whew.
Reminds me of the people who always win our charity golf tournament by 22 under and
never make a
golf shop credit.
Never make a putt you don't have to. Absolutely.
Right.
Club Pro Guy.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What went wrong with capitalism? Rashir Sharma, New York Times bestselling author, Financial Times columnist, joins us to discuss what went wrong with capitalism at 8:38.
But first, here's Mike Scott with the news.
8:32, 73 degrees. Russia's southern region of Dagestan holding the first of 3 days of mourning following a rampage by Islamic terrorists that killed 19. Officials in South Korea say fire at a lithium battery manufacturing plant near South Korea's capital has left at least 22 dead. 6 others are missing. Hundreds of temperature records are being broken as extreme heat is gripping small sections of the world map. The heat has led to tragedies as more than 1,000 Muslim pilgrims have died while making the Hajj journey to Mecca. At least 4 were killed, a result of a Friday shooting at a small-town grocery store in Arkansas. State Police Director Colonel Mike Hager.
The actions of the suspect were the most cowardly, pathetic actions imaginable, as he was literally preying on defenseless victims, the majority of which were female.
9 others were wounded in that incident. There is a suspect in custody. President Biden and former President Donald Trump prepping for their first debate, set for this week in Atlanta. Biden prepping at Camp David, while Donald Trump held a rally in Philadelphia. Cook County Commissioner Dennis Deere died Sunday night, his family announced. Deere represented the county's 2nd district. No details given. The family says they will share more in the coming days. A person of interest is in custody, all following the deadly shooting of a retired Chicago police officer last week in West Garfield Park. Police say Larry Newman was shot and killed last Thursday working in his yard. Pastor Paul Sims was a friend of Newman.
It's time for change. It's time for action. A man can come home from Vietnam, retire from CPD, work at Homeland Security, but he can't work in his own yard. Something's wrong with that.
Police sources confirmed that at least 36 were shot over the weekend, 8 of those fatally. Former Chicago Alderman Ed Burke will be sentenced today. Federal jury found Burke guilty last December. Prosecutors are asking for 10 years in prison. The Stanley Cup will finally make its way to the ice tonight. Panthers and Oilers battling for the ultimate prize in Game 7. Cubs lost to the Mets 5-2, while the White Sox lost to the Tigers 11-2. The news, a service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Can peace of mind fit into just 3 fruits and 3 veggie supplements? Yes. We start by sourcing the best fruit and vegetable ingredients. we ensure that all our produce meets our rigorous standards in order to give you the highest quality product possible. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum cold process that removes the water using pressure. We then take great care in grinding them into a fine powder. These powdered ingredients are then mixed and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped right to your door so you can experience your own personal Balance of Nature success story.
I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has.
Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious, it works.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
You know, daily stress is such a big deal. Fact is, the terrible impact of stress is very deadly and shortens our lives. Stress attracts diseases just like blood in the water attracts sharks. And for over 40 years on Chicago radio, we continue to share practical concepts from a natural healthcare perspective to help minimize your need for all those dangerous drugs and risky surgeries. So today, it's our dirt cheap adrenal stress index test. No blood, just spit. Now, most people don't do so well on their first go around signaling adrenal gland distress. And then they follow our stress busting strategies and pass their second test with flying colors. So if you can spare a little spit, call for your dirt cheap adrenal stress index test, and we will hold that same special low price for your follow-up test. Just call 800-794-1855. You can't get any cheaper than dirt cheap. That's 800-794-1855.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Hugh Hewitt for Townhall.com. Hellscape. That is what awaits China's People's Liberation Army Navy if it is ordered to invade Taiwan by Xi Jinping. We know this because U.S. Navy Admiral Samuel Paparo, who heads up PACOM, told us this through the Washington Post's Josh Rogan. And I quote the Admiral, "I want to turn the Taiwan Strait into an unmanned hellscape using a number of classified capabilities," Paparo told Rogan, "so that I can make the planned lives utterly miserable for a month, which buys me time for the rest of everything," he continued. Classified capabilities mean we can't know the details, or even the outline of the details. But Paparo did add, "I can't tell you what's in the plan to stop the Chinese invasion, but it's real and it's deliverable." The more that senior military figures like Paparo and figures in the intel and tech community spell out the scenarios for the public through responsible outlets, the better off every American is. More from the senior brass, please, and soon.
73 degrees at 8:40, and let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. 20 minutes on the inbound Edens, Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy, 1 hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson stop and go between Harlem and Kedzie on the inbound side. And the Dan Ryan at 30 minutes, 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Mostly sunny today, high 86. Heavy thunderstorms develop overnight, especially toward dawn, with a low of 74. Mostly sunny and 70 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Yeah, we're all going to be living here in Allentown. Sort of whimsical dirge from Billy Joel of the end of the industrial town in Pennsylvania. Well, larger Midwest. Neil Ferguson tweeted over the weekend. Neil Ferguson, the great historian at the Hoover Institution. Any great power that spends more on debt service than on defense will not stay great very long. True of Habsburg Spain, true of the ancient regime of France, true of the Ottoman Empire, true of the British Empire. This law is about to be put to the test by the U.S. beginning this very year. Any great power that spends more on debt service than on defense will not stay great for very long. And yeah, that's where we're at in America. Which leads us to our next guest in his latest book. Rashir Sharma is a New York Times bestselling author. He's a columnist for the Financial Times. He's chairman of Rockefeller International Capital. And his new book, What Went Wrong with Capitalism? What went wrong with capitalism? Well, maybe Neil Ferguson is indicating one of the things that went wrong is that we don't practice it anymore. Rashir Sharma, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Dan.
Give us the, spoiler alert, but give us the top line of what happened to capitalism. What went wrong?
Yeah, I think that you have obviously pointed out one facet of it, but what I point out in the book is that it's the suite of government habits over the last 100 years that have ruined capitalism. So the tagline of the book is that capitalism did not fail, it was ruined. It was ruined mainly by big government. And this is not just a slogan. I have shown how every decade the role of government in American economy and American society has increased. It's almost analogous to the pain management systems we seem to have in America today, which has got America hooked to the opioid crisis, which is that the slightest hint of any pain, we give the patient more and more opiates. And so therefore, you have the entire nation almost hooked to opiates. So similarly, as far as the economy is concerned, whether it's the culture of bailouts, the culture of regulating, the culture of micromanaging the business cycle, all these things have progressively increased over the last 100 years or so, from the 1920s, when we truly believed that the government was just good enough to deliver your mail and take care of defense. It's increased systematically over time. Some of that shows up in government spending as a share of the economy. That's gone up from 3% as a share of the economy 100 years ago to now about 36%. But I think that it's got to do with a suite of habits. The fact that America never believed in bailing out private sector companies until really the 1980s, when the first big bailout of a financial institution, which was Continental Illinois, happened in 1984. And then the culture of just regulating, which is that at the slightest hint of any trouble anywhere, you regulate. The problem is that by doing that, you're keeping out a lot of new and fresh businesses from entering, keep alive a lot of deadwood, and all this is undermining capitalism in a very fundamental way, which is the fact that productivity growth, which is the key to economic growth over time, productivity growth for the last 30 to 40 years in America has been declining. And that, I think, is the reason why economic growth, too, has been lower and lower with each passing decade over the last 30 to 40 years.
Well, also the parameters of debate have shifted markedly, and you sort of point this out. I remember watching fire-line debates between Bill Buckley and John Kenneth Galbraith talking about, sort of Milton Friedman free marketism versus John Maynard Keynes' government-centric manipulation of the economy. But Keynes would blanch at what both sides do now. Keynes talked about government borrowing and spending only to address weak demand. But now we do it all the time, every day, for any reason. And both sides do it. The parameters of debate have almost melted into nothing. I know conservatives spent some time criticizing modern monetary theory and the profligacy of the left. But they're just doing it at a slower pace.
Exactly. So, in fact, I have an entire chapter in the book titled "None of Us Are Keynesians Now," which is the fact that what Keynes had in mind is very different from the way that policymakers practice fiscal stimulus today. That, like in America's first 200 years of its economic history, America rarely ran a budget deficit. It did so only when there was like a war or an outright depression. But in the last 50 years, America has run a budget surplus for only 5 out of the last 50 years and run a budget deficit for 45 of the last 50 years. And the most galling fact is that today we have full employment in the economy, and yet we are running a budget deficit this year of 6 to 7% of GDP. I can't remember any developed country in history that has run such a large budget deficit in the midst of a recovery. That's just not happened. So we have taken government stimulus, government spending to just another extreme. And that's what I detail in the book, which is that government spending, as I said, has increased from just 3% of GDP 100 years ago continuously over time. Even during the Reagan years, it kept on going up. And now it's reached 36% of GDP. Our welfare state has also expanded enormously and is reaching the size of many European countries, such as France now. So this is the path that we currently are on. But a lot of people glaze over and say, oh, so what's the big deal? We have run these budget deficits over time. We have run this debt over time. None of the dire warnings of all these people has come true. And my sort of response is twofold. One, that yes, it's not happened so far, but all because it's not happened, we don't take this to a ridiculous extreme where America today is running a budget deficit that's twice as high as what it used to run for the last 20 years. But post-pandemic, and even now in the midst of an economic recovery, we are running such a deficit. Our debt levels now are getting to levels which is closing in on countries like Italy, and then obviously Japan's even higher. Those are not countries that we want to emulate. But the more fundamental point in the book is that, which I think has been overlooked by many people, because a lot of the criticism of the government so far has been focused, yes, on its spending and deficit in some quarters, and even of the Fed's monetary policy. But the idea that the government plays such a big role in so many parts of our lives which we don't even know, the expansion of the regulatory state, the expansion of the bureaucracy, how much more we spend now on bureaucracy than we did 30, 40 years ago, how much we have this proclivity of bailing out private sector companies. That was not what America used to be about.
But
fundamental changes, yes.
But I mean, the problem is that this works quite well for the corporate class. This, for the Fortune 1000, this sort of government-centric, rent-seeking, government as partner, government as backstop works well for them. So, I mean, how do you see this playing out if there is not a paradigm shift in policy on borrowing and spending? Do we just become, pre-Milei Argentina, where you have a wealthy elite and nothing in the middle, and a lot of people struggling to make ends meet that are government dependents? Or is it something even more severe than that?
No, I think that's obviously the risk if we keep going down this path. But I think that there's already a democratic check and balance here, and that's the irony. A lot of people come back to me and say, that the government is not incentivized to do anything and keep going down this path. That's possibly true, because unless countries literally run out of money, they don't carry out any economic reforms. You cite Argentina, but even in countries like Europe, which were big spending welfare states, such as Sweden, those countries were all forced to carry out reform once they had a fiscal crisis, and they were forced to run out of money. So I think that is a fundamental problem out there. But I think that the good thing is this, which is that a lot of Americans are expressing their disappointment. If you look at the poll numbers, and that's what a democracy does, which is that the poll numbers are terrible for the incumbents across the Western world. We know about Joe Biden's record low popularity rating, but even across the Western world, from Macron to Rishi Sunak in UK, all their poll numbers are in the basement at record lows. So what people are saying is that they're unhappy with the state of affairs. And that's particularly telling in America, because in America's case, economic growth is, relatively better compared to Europe. And I argue in the book that's because Europe is in worse of a status shape than America is. But at least the poll numbers are telling the politicians that this business as usual cannot continue. If a majority of Americans feel that the country is headed in the wrong direction, 6 out of 10 independents feel that the country is headed in the wrong direction. That's a pretty telling message for politicians that they need to change the way that they are going about stuff. Otherwise, they're creating this plutocracy, I guess, in a way, which a lot of people are resenting.
I suppose that there's a lot of belief, particularly from that same Fortune 1000 C-suite class that I mentioned, that AI and technology, the next technological innovation, will bail us out of this stagflationary environment where we're in, this sclerotic economy, because of how heavy is the burden of government. What do you say to the AI as sort of revolutionizing how we do so many things and thus essentially bailing us out?
Yes, so I think this is the latest narrative which has gripped Wall Street, and I feel that it is really overhyped. Yes, AI is a major technological revolution, but for us to sort of expect one technological breakthrough to take care of such fundamental problems in the economy of low productivity, of inequality, of concentration of wealth that's happened due to so much perversion as far as government involvement is concerned, to expect just AI to come and fix all this is just not right. And I think that even the market reflects that apart from a handful of these AI stocks led by NVIDIA, the rest of the stock market has been doing quite poorly over the last couple of years. In fact, the average stock in the S&P 500 is down over the last 2 years, even as the overall market is up. So this pattern of inequality is also being reflected in the stock market, and even the market, which is so sort of much in the grip of the AI mania. You look beneath the hood, even that's telling you that not all is well. And remember that the market is juiced up a lot because of the enormous amount of liquidity and money that the Fed had spent during the pandemic and the fiscal stimulus. And a lot of that excess money is still floating around in the system. And the rich in particular, have benefited from the massive amount of monetary and fiscal stimulus that took place after the pandemic. So I think that even there, if you look beneath the hood, the message is the same, that the problems are not going to go away, that AI is very significant, but it can't wash away all these underlying problems that are just pointed to and detailed in the book, over 100-year American history of capitalism.
Ruchir Sharma is a New York Times bestselling author. He's a Financial Times columnist and chairman of Rockefeller International Capital. His new book, as we've been discussing, What Went Wrong with Capitalism? What Went Wrong with Capitalism? Ruchir Sharma. Ruchir, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Summer is here. Are you able to get out, or is joint pain holding you back? Well, this is the best time of year for those outdoors. But if your knees, shoulders, back, or hips are hurting, don't suffer any longer. Non-surgical joint pain relief is here from our good friends at QC Kinetics. Call them today. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. We're talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no steroids, no drugs, no downtime. QC Kinetics advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. so you can walk and run again, play golf, pickleball, pain-free. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of former orthopedic surgeon Dr. Mitchell Shinecup. He's a true pioneer in regenerative medicine. Their advanced protocols have helped tens of thousands of patients to reclaim their more mobility. So stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. They'll walk you through the entire process and explain it in fine details. They're open on Saturdays, and they have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. The number to call, write it down, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
Donald Trump Jr. here. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back, but you can stop your losses by diversifying into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your free info kit from Birch Gold now.
Message and data rates may apply.
Can peace of mind fit into just 3 fruits and 3 veggie supplements? Yes. We start by sourcing the best fruit and vegetable ingredients. We ensure that all our produce meets our rigorous standards in order to give you the highest quality product possible. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum-cooled process that removes the water using pressure. We then take great care in grinding them into a fine powder. These powdered ingredients are then mixed and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped right to your door so you can experience your own personal Balance of Nature success story.
I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has.
Balance of Nature really was the game changer. I'm serious. It works.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code Chicago.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you?
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Dan, where are you golfing today?
Somewhere
doing something.
I gotta look. I'm playing some outing in Barrington, hopefully with some elite net players, so I can get those shop credits.
All right. Thanks so much to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive producer. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Go have yourselves a wonderful day. Now into the newsroom we go. Here.